Hello and welcome to the Emmy Awards. I'm your host, Emmy Cardinale, and this is my podcast where I talk about what I've been watching or rewatching normally once a week. I've been really bad this year in terms of consistency, but this episode is going to be extra long, so hopefully that makes up for the fact that I skipped a week. And because the episode is going to be extra long, I'm going to try not to ramble in my intro, but I did want to say that this is the first episode I'm recording after the podcast's fourth birthday. I started this podcast on Valentine's Day in 2022, so it turned for Valentine's Day of this year. This is the first episode I'm recording after the podcast's fourth birthday, and I did want to just take a moment to say that if you're listening at all, it really means so much to me. I've been doing this for 4 years, and while sometimes I get really down on myself because I'm like, I've been doing this for 4 years for what? The only person I know who consistently listens is my sister. Why am I still doing this? It's so fun and it's such a place of fulfillment. And I'm really just doing it for the love of the game. I love talking about TV and I love engaging in discourse about TV. So if people listen and they care about my thoughts, that means so much to me. So thank you so much for listening. And if this is the first episode of mine that you stumble upon and you enjoy it, please feel free to follow me wherever you listen to podcasts. Like and subscribe if you're listening to this on YouTube. Rate and review on the podcasting apps if you've been listening for a while. Comment down below, yada, yada, all that good stuff. Genuinely, even just giving it a listen all the way through 10 minutes, whatever you listen to, if you click on the video and you listen to my thoughts on TV, that's more than I can ask for. So as I said, this episode is going to be extra long. I'm going to be talking about the Pitt season 2, episodes 1 through 7. This is not a structured recap. I do have notes on every episode, but I'm not going to be talking about every single thing that happens, mostly because I'm not a doctor and I tried to take detailed notes scene by scene for the Pitt. And I was like, I just don't know how to describe what's happening. So I'm kind of going to be talking, I'm going to be talking about the patients that become recurring characters and stuff like that, or just the ones that there's a girl who shuts her eye with glue, and that one's not a huge patient, but anyways, she is a patient. She is a recurring patient. My point is, I'm going to be talking about the patient, but not in a super medical way, okay? Because I don't know what I'm talking about. All that to say, this is not a structured recap, but I do have a lot to talk about. Before I jump into the Pitt season 2, episodes 1 through 7, I do want to very quickly, maybe not that quickly, I do want to talk about the Traitors episodes 9 and 10. So I'm just going to jump straight into that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Chapters will be in the description. So if you don't care about the Traitors, you can skip straight to the Pitt section of this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoy. Thank you. Thank you. So last I left you in terms of recapping the Traitors, Eric was going to be recruited by Rob. He could either say yes or say no. And I was like, obviously he's going to say yes. And he did say yes. And I will say episode 9 of the Traitors was probably the most boring episode of this season so far. And a lot of people are like, this is why they shouldn't have gotten rid of Candace, that it's boring now. And I don't agree with that. I think Rob, whatever, I'm fine with Candace going home. I don't need to rehash that. But I will say episode 10 was significantly better. And I think episode 9 was clearly they were in a transitionary period. And I do think there were really interesting parts to episode 9. It wasn't a bust, but it just wasn't the best episode of the Traitors that we've had so far. So episode 9, Eric agrees to be a traitor. They kill Dorinda, which makes sense. I don't think Dorinda was going to be banished, so it makes sense. At this phase in the game, when you're a traitor, in terms of who you murder, you have to think will this person be a shield for me, or will they be a liability for my game? Or sometimes they're neither. If they're not an ally to you and they're not a shield, then there's really no reason why one faithful has to go over another. And I do think Dorinda was I think she was the right move. Anyways, the episode, I feel the main thing to come out of episode 9 for me personally was seeing Eric as a traitor for the first time. And no hate to Eric, he's not very good, but I also just think he's in a difficult position, and it's hard for me to rate him as a traitor because I feel recruits have a harder position in the game. I just feel it's harder if you're a traitor the whole time. Then these people have only ever known you as I know that I'm a traitor, but I'm pretending to be a faithful. So you're act as a faithful can be more believable. The whole time you've never had to worry about being suspicious because you know you're a faithful, so like why would anybody suspect you? And suddenly you're a traitor. Like that seems like that would be significantly harder than if you've just been a traitor the whole time. So it's hard for me to know if Eric is genuinely bad at being a traitor because he like wouldn't be very good at it, or he's just in a difficult position. He is very, the funny thing about Eric is he is very confidently wrong when like he thinks he knows things like 100% this is Tiffany's lap, 100% this is Johnny's handwriting, and he's like dead wrong. But it's just funny because now he has all the information and he's still not very good. So it's like I don't know. It's hard for me to judge Eric, but I do like the ally he is to Rob. I'm rooting for Rob to win at this point in the game, so I was happy that Rob had an ally. Okay, it made me happy. What can I say? I will say episode 9, the competition. This one was actually really interesting when like it was explained. I've like shit on the Traitors competitions so much, and I could forever and ever and ever. Like genuinely, they piss me off. I I don't need to go on my tangent that I went on last episode, but I genuinely hate the prize pot like aspect of it. I think the prize needs to be set and the challenges need to be for some kind of advantage or power or punishment. Like I don't know, like you lose, you're automatically like in Big Brother, sometimes they have like if you're the first 3 people to fall off the wall or automatically have nots. Like I know they don't have nots on the Traitors. They don't even live in the castle. But like I just mean like I don't know, you lose your vote. Like something that adds stakes to the competitions because a lot of the times I just don't care when I'm watching them, to be quite honest. And the like adding money to the prize pot for me isn't interesting enough. And like something like this, for example, the Traitors just anyways, because the the challenge was the Traitors, you as a group have to like the question is something about what the Traitors think of you, and you have to put the person that you think the Traitors are going to guess. So it like can reveal something about the way that the Traitors are thinking, right? That was an interesting concept. However, when they first announced it, I thought it was going to be something of like sometimes they do like surveys and stuff like that. I believe in a season past they did something similar where it was like they had asked them questions beforehand and anyways, but instead of it being some kind of like based off of some kind of survey, it was the Traitors had to decide in that moment. And so they just decided to put the same name over and over and over again because the penalty for the group not getting it right is they just don't add money to the prize pot. If you guess correctly, you add money to the prize pot. If you don't, then you don't add money to the prize pot. And I think every like correct guess is like $500, however many of them are. I don't remember the exact number. Again, I hate the mechanic of adding money to the prize pot. I don't care about the prize pot because at the end of the day, like not to be a hater, because if I was on this show, that would be a lot of money for me. Like I'm literally not hating on it at all. Okay. And obviously the range of the players, there are players, specifically the gamers, who like don't have a lot of money, but then there are housewives that I'm like, this is like chump change for you. Or even like Rob Roush, I imagine the money that he makes on like one brand deal is probably like, you know what I mean? Anyways. It's just like for me, the prize pot isn't compelling, especially because it's like what at max it's like $250,000, which is a lot of money, but it's normally like split amongst 4 people, which again, still a lot of money. That kind of money in my savings would like genuinely ease so much stress off of me. I'm not like believe me, okay. I design newspapers for a living. You think that's a lucrative business? I spend my free time watching television, taking notes, recording a podcast that makes no money. Okay. I'm not rolling the dough. That would be a lot of money for me too. Okay. But my point is it's not like $1 million in Survivor where you're like, okay, they're starving, but I understand. The stakes are just not high enough, is my point. And here they're like, we're not gonna risk our spot in the game for this money. So they just keep putting Tara's name down instead of like genuinely having something that they would then think the faithful would guess so they could get money, right? Steven, so funny, in his confessionals for this challenge was like, I hope the Traitors just answer honestly so we can get the money. Like, okay, Steven. Okay, that's sweet that you think they would do that. Regardless of if it wasn't Tara every single time, I would not take the answers with like much. Like putting the same name down every single time was really good because then 100% you're not giving them absolutely anything. But honestly, even if they weren't putting the same name down, I would still I would not read into their answers because I'm like, they're trying to psych me out. I don't know. I'd be like, I would suck at this game, to be honest. I would psych myself out that they were trying to psych me out. Anyways, they just keep putting Tara's name down, and Johnny takes it so personally that they're putting Tara's name down as if they're saying something about her character. And it's like after like the third one, it's literally not personal at all. They could have said who is the most beautiful person here, and they would have put Tara. Like it wasn't about like anything negative about her character. They were just trying to only put one name. But in the last round, the faithful are like, okay, guys, obviously they're just putting Tara. So let's just put Tara so we can bank money. And the only two people to not put Tara's name are Johnny and Tara. They answer the question honestly. I don't even remember what the question was. Like, who do the traitors think would be the most likely to be a traitor? I don't remember. Whatever it was so funny to me. It was so funny to me. Johnny and Tara in this episode, so funny. So funny. They like decide that they are going to announce to the group that they're friends and they've actually been hiding it the whole time. And it was giving like they thought this was like a Cerie Fields is Jared's mother level twist. Okay. You guys being friends adds nothing. It adds nothing to the dynamic. Okay. It wasn't like they acted like they'd never met and they had no like there was clearly some familiarity. And people were already grouping them as a duo. So even if people didn't think that they were best friends going into like it did nothing. Okay. It's like that meme. It's like, why does nobody give a fuck? Genuinely, I don't think anybody cared. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to Johnny and Tara. I don't think anybody cared. Another moment I forgot to mention, sorry. Kristen in this episode, Tara like has a conversation with her and Kristen is like, I suspect you, Tara. And Tara's response to this was so funny because she's not like, well, I'm not a traitor, so your reads are wrong. She's like, wow. Like she goes to Kristen with I don't remember whose name. And Kristen's like, I don't think it's that person. And actually, I think it's you. And instead of being like, well, it's not me. So maybe I'm right. She's like, wow, I'm completely off. Kristen doesn't think it's this person that I'm suspecting. Kristen also said she thought it was you. And you know you're not a traitor. So like, what are you talking about, Tara? Tara's so funny. Tara's so funny. Anyways, they reveal this at the round table. Nobody gives a fuck. I believe going into it, like, I think Johnny is the person that they were hoping to throw it on, but then it switches to Steven. They get Steven out at this round table. I don't really. I didn't move. I didn't move. It was like kind of a nothing burger of an episode. I mean, it was funny and the Traitors is always entertaining, but it wasn't like a big strategic, oh, they got a big person out, especially after like banger after banger in terms of like banishments and murders. Like that episode where we got Colton murdered and then I think Candace was banished that same episode. Like, what a spectacular episode. That was like beauty. That was beauty. And then we get Steven banished. Like, who cares? No hate to Steven. No hate to Steven. I have to say, I don't know if I'm the only person. The name Steven never sounds the same to me ever again. I'm like, I hear that I heard myself saying Steven and saying no hate to Steven. And I got upset because I was thinking about Tell Me Lies, Steven DeMarco. So I'm like, lots of hate to that Steven, the fictional Steven, not Steven. I don't know your last name from Laguna Beach and One Tree Hill. Never seen either of those shows. I should eventually watch One Tree Hill. I feel like that's a show that's like up my alley. But anyways. Episode 10 was a lot better, like so good, except I was stressed out of my mind the whole time because Rob's name comes up. And Tara, for once, actually, like it's Tara. Tara's pushing the name. And I was stressed out because I really didn't want Rob to go for a lot of reasons. One, I really enjoyed his gameplay and I like wouldn't want to see him go this early, but also because if Rob goes, I would hope, honestly, if Rob won, I would hope that they would sniff out Eric. Like at that point, I don't want the Traitors to win because no hate to Eric, but that'd be like somebody like does all of the work for like a group project and you come at the end and you like add like the closing sentence and you get all of the credit for like all of the work that somebody else did. That would annoy me. That's the one thing I really don't like about like the mechanic of being a recruit is like the concept that Rob could go and then Eric wins the prize pot entirely by himself and he's been a traitor for 2 nights. I would lose my mind. The challenge in episode 10 was like a Temu version of that spinning contest they do in Big Brother that actually makes people really dizzy. This one, they didn't seem dizzy at all. And Eric and Tara they didn't spin. I don't know why. I don't genuinely care. again, the competition doesn't have many stakes for me personally, so I didn't really care about the fact that like people are like, this isn't fair. I don't really care. I really don't care. I really, really don't care. Okay. I don't care. If the other contestants seemed genuinely dizzy, like they were like wobbling over, and Eric and Tara were completely fine, then like maybe I would understand, but like they didn't seem super affected by the spinning. So the fact that they didn't spin, I didn't feel like it was that big of an advantage. And I also genuinely believe that if the Traitors was like, you guys can't do, like, I believe that if they had like a medical exemption, I believe that they couldn't have done that help like safely for their health. So I don't really care. The one thing I will say is if I was Mora, I would feel robbed because it was between Mora and Eric in the competition, and Eric wins, and I would feel robbed because I'd be like, he didn't even do the spinning thing. Although Mora at some point, Natalie does help her, because you have to like spin and then you run. You have to get money from like they're in a carnival type set. They have to get money from like they're inside these dolls, and she couldn't rip the doll open, and Natalie helped her rip the doll open. And they don't reveal at first that it's like musical chairs. Like every time there's one less chair. So Rob is the last person in the first round, and he's out, and he's all pissed. I feel like you could have put that together. Okay, maybe I'm just like, again, I'd be like, this is OTEP because Alan Cumming said like the last person on the thing, like the last person standing gets a shield. So it's like obviously they're going to do something. Like unless there's a timer and it's like if you're not here by like 10 seconds, you're out. Like then obviously they're going to reduce the amount of people. If not, how are they going to? Or like I don't know. It's like anyways, whatever. Eric wins, and the Traitors are happy because now they can murder anybody because he gets the shield. They also bank money, but who cares about that? I don't. I didn't take notes for this. I'm sorry, I'm hopping all around. But this episode really stressed me out because Tara begins to be like, what if it's Rob? What if Rob is the traitor? And she's right for once. And she goes to Natalie and she like says this suspicion. And naturally, Natalie, because her name is up on the chopping block, she is like, guys, it's Rob. And she starts pushing very hard for it to be Rob. Wait, I forgot to mention, I'm so sorry. At the end of episode 9, Kristen like suspects that it's Eric. And episode 9 ended on the cliffhanger of like, will they kill Kristen? And I thought they were going to. It made the most sense because when Rob was saying like the pros and cons of killing Kristen or not killing Kristen, it was like if you kill Kristen, some suspicion will fall back on you. But if you don't kill Kristen, then you'll have to like deal with her accusing you. And I thought that like it would make more sense to kill Kristen specifically for Eric, who's having a hard time adjusting to being a traitor and like he's being more quiet and he's acting suspicious. And I don't think he would do a great job defending himself. I thought it would have made more sense for Eric to kill Kristen than to like try to defend himself. Like I feel like the ghost of Kristen is less of a threat than Kristen herself going hard at Eric and him not being able to defend himself. So I thought Kristen was going to be the murderer, and she was. Anyway, so just to set that up, because Kristen's gone. Not that that's super important. But now Tara goes to Natalie, and Natalie then begins to be like, guys, it's Rob, it's Rob, it's Rob. And Tara is like, because there's been some suspicion on her, has been like, I don't really want to go super hard at this round table. So she like doesn't bring up her suspicion of Rob. She lets Natalie do it. And Natalie then mentions that it's Tara, and like chaos ensues. And Rob leaves this like completely unscathed. It's wild. It's wild. The like Tara Natalie conflict ends up sinking Natalie, and Rob gets no votes at the round table. Like going to the round table, it seemed like the votes were like Rob and Natalie. No votes for Rob. Not even Natalie. Natalie votes for Tara because she's so pissed that like she abandoned her. And it's so like ironic because she actually, Tara, like was finally onto something and she didn't trust her instinct and she was too scared about making a big swing. And so Natalie gets banished. Rob uses his dagger. This is the last opportunity he could have. It's also the last round table where we find out that somebody like that we know the audience, but like that the faithful find out they banished a faithful or a traitor. Next round table, it's not revealed, and then at the fire pit it's not revealed until the end, obviously when they decide to end the fire pit. So Natalie's banished, and then they have to murder somebody like that same night in not in plain sight. It's like they bring everybody out and they're going to tell them who's murdered. Now, I don't know who I think is going to be murdered. There is some suspicion on Eric. There's still some suspicion on Rob. I really hope, I think the best path forward for Rob to hopefully win, because again, I want him to win. Okay, this is my podcast and that's my opinion. I want Rob to win. I think hopefully the best path forward for Rob would be he kills Mark, then they get Johnny or Tara out at the round table, because nobody's going to banish Mark, and Mark is a smart enough game player that I don't think he would be super loyal necessarily to Eric or Rob if he's suspicious of them. I think he wouldn't risk it, and he's not going to be banished. Nobody thinks Mark. I don't think that they'd be able to convince anybody that Mark is a traitor. So because he's not a shield or an ally, especially in the end game when you really need the numbers, I think they're going to kill Mark. I think killing Mark is the smartest decision. And then they get either Tara or Johnny banished, but then they remove the numbers. And then the numbers are kind of really in your favor, because then you really only have Johnny to contend with. Or like if you banish Tara, then you only have Johnny to deal with as like a rogue number. And if you banish Tara, or if you banish Johnny, then you only have Tara. Like whichever of the two ice skating, of the two Olympians that you like separate, that's only one number. So I think that's the best path forward. I hope that's what happens. Peace and love to Mark. I enjoyed his game, but I think for Rob's game, I think because his options to kill is like, I don't think he would kill Johnny or Tara, because then that looks suspicious on you. And I don't think he would kill Mora, because I don't think killing Mora at this point in the game would be good. It does behoove you sometimes as a traitor to kill an ally, if like to get the suspicion off of you. Like I think killing Colton helped Rob when he did that. But I don't think at this point it would, especially with the numbers you have. It would be too risky, in my opinion, to kill a for sure vote you have in your favor to get any suspicion off of you. Like you need to keep Mora around. So that's what I think is going to happen. And that's what I hope happens. And I hope Rob wins. And Eric, if they don't banish it, like if they banish Eric or if they don't, I don't really care about Eric. I'm so sorry. I'd be fine either way. I just really want Rob to win. Those are all my thoughts on the Traitors. Okay, I paused my recording and I started again. So hopefully my audio didn't change. And if it did, I'll deal with that tomorrow. So anyways, as I said in my intro, this is not a structured recap of the pit. I am not a doctor or any kind of medical professional. In fact, I am quite bad at all that kind of stuff. Okay, I was an English major. I wanted to be a math major for like 2 years in college, and it like ruined my GPA. Well, that and my depression. And honestly, I'm not trying to blame, it was my fault. Okay. All that to say, I'm not going to be doing super medical terms. Okay. There are a lot of doctors and medical professionals that react to the pit. I'm interested in the like narrative structure and the characters and the interpersonal dynamics. And obviously there are a lot of really interesting things that the patients bring out. Like even in season 1, we saw like anytime there was something to do with pregnancy, like that was very impactful for, I'm not remembering her last name, Heather. I don't remember her last name. Collins, Dr. Collins, who she's not in the season, but like she was dealing with infertility and then a miscarriage, that she literally had a miscarriage during her shift. So when there was a pregnancy like that, you know what I mean? Like obviously the patients impact anyways. Sorry, I just genuinely, I'm not going to be super, super detailed because I don't understand what's going on in that regard. I just want to talk about kind of like what happens. Okay, so episode 1 opens with Robbie. Also, if you haven't seen I'll try to introduce the characters, but hopefully you've watched the pit, because again, this is not a structured recap. So hopefully this is you tuning in to hear somebody's thoughts on the pit, not really a recap where I'm telling you about the pit so you can follow. Like when I do structured recaps, my goal is that you can like listen to that and like I can explain the show to you, even if you haven't seen it. This is not what I'm doing for the pit, because again, I couldn't explain the show to you if I tried. But Robbie, he's like the attending doctor. I don't know how far. There are some things that I can figure out, but like I don't know how long you have to be a doctor to be an attending. I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? But anyways, Robbie, he's like the head of the pit, which is the like emergency and trauma center. They just call themselves the Pit, which is super, super slay and iconic. I love that. And he is riding his motorcycle into work and he's not wearing a helmet. Like, okay. It's the 4th of July, this episode. The pit takes place over one shift. That's how the pit works. Some interesting moments to note from episode 1. Donnie, who is a nurse, who was in season 1, he's a new dad. That's something that comes up a few times, is him being a new father. The main thing I feel like that happens in this episode, along with like picking up where everybody's been for the last 10 months, I think it's been since the last episode, or maybe not 10 months. I don't know, because Langdon comes back and he's been gone for like 10 months. So I assume it's been 10 months because I assume like the last time we saw him is the last time he was there, because he got fired, but then he came back because there was a mass casualty event. Anyways, but Robbie's replacement, because he's going on a sabbatical for 3 months, is here. And the tension between Robbie and Dr. Al-Hashimi, who is his replacement for his sabbatical, is like a big thing in episode 1 especially, and the first few episodes. I think at this point, I mean, it hasn't really gone away. It hasn't really gone away 7 episodes in, but like it's really big in episode 1, okay? And a funny moment about his sabbatical is Donnie's like, you're going for 3 months, and he's like, I'll be back before your daughter sleeps through the night, which is kind of savage, but you know, I guess babies don't sleep through the night. Maybe that's not that savage. I don't know how long it takes babies to sleep through the night. I don't know anything that I'm talking about at all. Why am I covering this show? I have a lot to say about the show. Okay. Honestly, not so much the first few episodes, but things pick up. Robbie checks in with the attending from the night shift. Robbie asks, I'm like, again, I'm not covering every single scene. Okay. I'm so sorry. But at some point, Robbie asks where everybody is, and the charge nurse, the nighttime charge nurse, tells him that the students are in trauma 1. The new attending, Robbie's replacement, wanted to see them in action, so they're doing a drill. She also reveals, the charge nurse does, that the new attending is pretty divorced and has 1 kid and a strict rule follower, Baran Al-Hashimi. Then the night shift doctor says that she's a clinical informations expert. Okay, I don't remember his name. I'm so sorry. But anyways, then in trauma 1, we see the practice thing that they're doing. We meet Ogilvy and Joy. Side note, why did people decide to call him Evil Whitaker? That's such an insult to Whitaker. What did Whitaker do to be associated with him? Like, what do they have in common? They don't even have that much in common, okay? Like, he's tall, and they're both white guys. He doesn't even give Huckleberry. They're nothing alike. Why are people comparing Ogilvy to, why is his name Evil Whitaker? Who came up with that? I would like to speak to that person, because I don't like you. And then Joy, who I do like Joy. They're doing chest compressions. Whitaker's instructing. Al-Hashimi comes in, asks them to reflect on what went well, what could have been improved. And then Robbie comes in and makes a joke about the patient being an organ donor, and it's like a test dummy. So he's like, oh, it'll be used for water bottles and then microplastics and yada, yada, yada. Robbie thinks he's a comedian. They disperse, and then Al-Hashimi and Robbie have a conversation. She hopes he doesn't mind her jumping straight into things. She thinks a mock code is a great way to test the students' capabilities if they'd had some time to go over how they do things here. And she's like, did you get the welcome packet from Dr. Underwood? And read it yet. He thought that he'd have more time before she came in. She says they've already distributed patient passports to everyone at registration, and he asks what that is, and she gives him one. The patient passports, they explain how long a procedure typically takes to kind of keep patients in the loop. So if they tell you, oh, you're getting this x-ray or this blood work, you can see how long it's going to take. That becomes an issue later on. I don't know if I have this in my notes, and I don't remember what episode this was. In one of the episodes, one of the patients is like, this patient passport says that this should take 2 hours, and I've been here for 4. And McKay, I believe, is the doctor who replies to this at the time, is like, yeah, that doesn't account for the holiday. It's the 4th of July. So I don't know. Anyways, though I do think that they will probably come in handy for, honestly, I didn't do this intentionally. I had intended to do episodes 1 through 6 of The Pit. And then I just I didn't, anyways, I had a rough week. I was going to record last Wednesday, and then I felt ill on Wednesday, so I couldn't record. So then I was like, you know what, at this point, I'm just going to wait until the next round of, until episode 10 of the Traitors and episode 7 of The Pit. And then I'll just include that in my recap instead of trying to get episodes like 1 through 6 out before episode 7. So that's what I'm doing. Anyways, but it actually worked out really well because episode 7, sorry, not to jump ahead, it ends on like all of the electronics shutting down, and it's kind of, you know, how if you're watching season 1, when they go into the mass casualty event, like there's a big shift and things change a lot. I feel like that's going to happen in episode 8 onward. So I think I actually timed this really well accidentally. That was just the wilderness looking out for me. Everything is about Yellow Jackets if you want it to be. Anyways, Al Hashimi knows Samira Mohan. They greet each other. They both worked at the VA, and then she's like, Mel's here too. Mel King. They're both residents. I don't remember what year they're in. I'm so sorry. Mel, side note, played by Taylor Dearden, who I've been a fan of for years. I actually, when this show started airing, I heard about it because Taylor Dearden was in it, and I've been a fan of her for years because she was in one of my favorite shows, Sweet Vicious. And I didn't watch The Pitt at first because I don't like medical shows. Okay, I've never liked a medical show. I've tried to watch many medical shows, and this is the only medical show that I actually like. Okay, I hate medical shows. I've always said, like, I'll give any show a chance, but if it's a medical show, like, I'm not going to get through it. I don't like medical shows. The Pitt got me. Okay, I was hooked, but it did take me a while. I didn't watch Pitt season 1 until the Pitt season 2 started airing. Like, I watched all of the Pitt season 1 in the week from, like, after episode 1 of season 2 dropped. I watched all of season 1, and so I could be caught up for the second episode of season 2. So, like, I was hooked. And part of the reason I really like being part of things. Okay, I really like people are discussing things. I want to be part of the conversation. That's just my truth. That, and I was like, I'll give it a chance because Taylor Dearden is in it. I really like it, and it's really good. It's really, really good. So shout out to Taylor Dearden for being the reason I started the Pitt. But anyways, Mal also worked at the VA. There's a John Doe with penetrating trauma. I don't remember this patient. I don't know if he's long. I'm so sorry. That's all I wrote, and I don't. But Garcia, who she's from surgery, she comes down and she meets Al Hashimi. And Garcia's dating Santos, who is an R2 this year. Garcia calls Whitaker white chocolate because Garcia is dating Santos, and Santos and Whitaker live together, and mentions that he uses people's toothbrushes. And he's like, it's an accident. It'll happen again. Again, I like the little ways that we get. Again, like they're performing on some guy who has like penetrating trauma, whatever that means. I don't know. That's what I wrote down, and I don't even remember what that means. I can't even visualize it. I'm so sorry. I know nothing about this. But then Al Hashimi and Robbie at the same time ask Samira what she thinks is best. And then Al Hashimi asks for gloves for the next step. But Robbie says here they let the fellows and the students and the residents take charge. And she says she'll just hold on to them just in case. And then he asks if the VA is even a trauma center. He's like, why are you here? He is really, I will say, okay, I have mixed feelings on Robbie. There were a lot of things he did season 1 that I didn't like. I really like Robbie. Like, the thing is, okay, I don't dislike Al Hashimi. She's honestly grown on me 7 episodes in. There are a lot of things I don't like about Al Hashimi, but there are also a lot of really things I don't like about Robbie. I just do like Robbie's approach to the med students more than I like Al Hashimi's, though I do think she's picking up a little bit, okay? The main thing I don't like about Al Hashimi is that she really pushes AI, and I am an AI hater. Genuinely, I hate AI, and I think I'll get into it as the AI becomes part of the conversation. I don't need to go on. I just don't like AI. I don't like AI. Anyways, he asks if the VA is even a trauma center, and she says not for medic runs, but they have walk-ins, falls, major MVCs. I don't know what that means. GSWs, gunshot wounds. That one I learned from maybe VC is something about like major vascular something. Like maybe it has something to do with the heart attack. But GSW is gunshot wounds. I learned that from the mass casualty episode. Gunshot wounds are obviously not exciting. Sorry. I just got excited that I knew something. Okay. Whitaker asks Ogilvy why they're doing things the exact way so he can explain. I like Whitaker. There aren't many characters I dislike from the Pitt. There are characters that I critique. Like, the thing about the characters on the Pitt is that for me, they feel like I know that I really like a show when I don't really feel like there are many characters that I hate. like there are characters that I dislike certain aspects of, but I can appreciate them as characters, if that makes sense. And not that me hating a character on a show means that the show is bad or that I don't like the show. But it just means that I appreciate the writing. And even if I dislike a character, there are aspects that I like about them. Like, again, I'm critical of certain aspects of Robbie. That doesn't mean I hate Robbie. Like, there are very few characters I hate. There are characters I like more than others. Like, I love Mohan. Samira Mohan, I think, is my favorite. I really love Javardi. Um, I really enjoy Whitaker. I really like Mel. I like most of them. I like Santos, though. Like, Santos, I have very complex feelings on because I really empathize with her, but she does frustrate me. Langdon, I really don't like. I really don't like Langdon. I'm sorry. Maybe it's also because his name is too close to a name that I really don't like. Like, I'm sorry. Like, every time I had to write Langdon in my notes, I wanted to... No, it's not funny. But anyways, so I don't like Langdon. I'm sorry. I think part of it is going into watching season 1. I knew that people shipped Mel and Langdon, and I love Taylor Dearden. So I was just like, I don't like this actually. The fact that people ship them together made me like him less. I'm like, I actually don't want you on the show. Why are you shipping Mel with him? You should ship Mel with me. I have had a crush on Taylor Dearden ever since I saw her in Sweet Vicious. I'm not kidding. Like, I love her. Anyways, I like Whitaker, is my point. Samira's, I don't know if I should call her Mohan or Samira. I'm going to alternate. But anyways, her mom keeps texting her, and we get more backstory into why later. Al Hashimi and Robbie's styles are really butting heads in this episode. Like, that's the main thing in episode 1. They kind of keep like stepping over each other metaphorically. Like, he'll go to be like, Samira, what do we do here? And she's like, like they're struggling. They're struggling because their approaches are different, and it's a very like high speed environment where they're doing things. Like, they're not stopping, right? It's a fast paced environment. They're in an ER. They have to keep seeing the next patient, yada, yada, yada. So that's a big thing in episode 1. Langdon arrives. He sees Louis in the waiting room. Louis is a regular from season 1, who he is a chronic alcoholic. Don't remember what he came in for in season 1. Probably something related to his alcoholism. And Langdon, backstory on Langdon. I was like, I feel bad not explaining things. Hopefully you have seen the show, but in case you haven't, Langdon was fired because he was caught stealing benzos from his patients, Louis being one of them. And Santos and Langdon really butted heads because Santos was the one who was like, I think Langdon, like, I've been on 2 cases with Langdon where there's like a discrepancy with the benzos. Like, I think something's here. And like, the crazy thing is she was right, because Santos, like I really like her as a character, but like there are a lot of moments where she like jumps to conclusions, or like isn't like, she like, I don't know, I'll get into it. But because of that, it's like you're watching season 1, and if you like, I watched it knowing that he was going to get fired. But if you watch season 1 not knowing that he's going to get fired because of like, you're just like, she's like, maybe she's right, maybe she's not, but then she's right, which is crazy. But anyways, so he's back. It's his first day back. Robbie like fired him, and like really not fired him, but like there was a very emotional moment where like Robbie found out that he was stealing the benzos, and he like sends him on his way, and he's like really mad. But then Langdon comes back because there's a mass casualty event. And anyways, so there's a lot of tension between Robbie and Langdon throughout these episodes, specifically because of that. Okay. He like goes to, he checks in, then he goes to the back, and his locker is different. Like, the locker that used to be his, the lock has changed. He has a new locker, and in the new locker, there's like rotting food, which is kind of unfortunate. I'm sorry to Langdon. Okay. Then Dana arrives. She's the charge nurse, who I really love. Dana's one of my favorite characters for sure. I love Dana. This is important. In season 1, there is a storyline where Dana gets assaulted by a patient. She gets punched in the face, which was very upsetting. It was really, really upsetting. It was really, really upsetting. Anyways, she sees Robbie's motorcycle, which was a funny little moment. We find out that her husband's mom is visiting. She greets Langdon. She took a break too, we find out, after the last shift as well. says he looks good. He's looking for Robbie. Then there's a new nurse. Her name's Emma. She meets Dana and Lena, the nighttime charge nurse, who actually comes back later as a death doula for a patient, but I'll get there. Robbie is frustrated with Al Hashimi, like just telling the students what to do instead of prompting them. Again, their styles are butting heads because she's kind of like, okay, now you do this, where he's like, okay, his approach is more like asking, and what would we do next? Where her approach is just telling them, this is what we do next. And he doesn't like that. He doesn't like that, which is valid. That is valid. Like, again, and I just resonate a bit more with like, if I was an employee of Robbie's, obviously not in this setting, but like if Robbie was a manager of mine and Al Hashimi was a manager of mine, I feel like I would, as an employee, a subordinate, if you will, like if I was working under one of these people, I'd rather be working under somebody who's like, okay, so what do we do next, than somebody who's like, okay, now we do this, now we do this, now we do this, you know? So I think in that regard, I do like Robbie a little bit more. She suggests stepping in when they can't stop the bleeding, but he's like, Garcia's a really skilled surgeon. If she can't stop the bleeding, we have to think of something else. And it seems like her gut instinct, from my assessment of her, is to just jump in to solve the problem instead of like trying to work as a team. But I don't know, no hate to Al Hashimi. I think it's also like, I do imagine that it's just a very different environment, like working at the VA than working in a trauma center where it's so busy. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, nor have I ever been to the VA. I did have a therapist once who, and I loved this therapist, okay? I went to college in Ohio, and it was really hard to find therapy because I went to college in rural Ohio specifically, and all the therapists nearby were like religious or conservative. Hard just to find like a regular therapist. So the only therapist I found was in Columbus, and I loved this therapist. Okay, like she was great. I saw her once a week. I would just go, like it was, anyways. I would go up to Columbus once a week in the evening. It was great because she was like one of the only therapists I could find who like I could see in the evenings. Anyways, I saw her for like maybe close to 2 years, a year and a half, and then she left her practice to go work at the VA. And I was like, well, I'm not a veteran, so I guess I didn't see. It was really sad, but you know, she's a great therapist. So hopefully the veterans, if she's still working there, hopefully they're getting good therapy because she helped me a lot. Love her. And anyways, he suggests some kind of thing, Hilar flip, which is like you flip. I don't know what any of that means. And I don't know. It either works or kills the patient, but they don't kill the patient. It works. So good job, Robbie. And then in episode 1, we meet a recurring character who, like a recurring patient, Kylie Connors. She's a young girl with bruises. Her dad's girlfriend brings her in. And again, this is one of those moments where we really see Santos like jump to conclusions because she kind of Santos really like believes that the girl is being abused. Though in all fairness, the girlfriend does say that they like roughhouse before, and she has like various bruises with different levels of healing. So like I understand that. Again, I'm not a medical professional, and I'm not like, I genuinely don't judge Santos because I mean, part of the reason I would never be a medical professional is because I feel like I would be too like anxious about like if I didn't I could never handle this kind of job. So I'm really not trying to criticize her. She's a fictional character, but really not trying to criticize her because I understand like an emotional gut react. Anyways, Mel is really happy to see Langdon back. Again, people ship them. I don't. They stabilize the patient that they were performing surgery on, and they send him up to the OR. And Robbie then suggests splitting up for efficiency with Al Hashimi, and she says they can certainly discuss that. Then we see a patient who he's a recurring patient. He fell over a laundry basket and like has some mild injuries. His name is Mr. Williams. And he also seems like a little out of it. I don't know the proper term, but it's like, anyways. Then Samira is on the phone with her mother, says she'll call as soon as she can. That's the best she can do. And then she tells McKay that her mom is trying to ruin her life. McKay says the moms seem to take pleasure in that. So anyways, Samira says that she committed to a partnership track position in New Jersey to be closer to her mother. But now her mother is like going on a year-long cruise. And Honestly, shout out to her mom, because hopefully that means that she stays at the pit. I don't want her to leave. Like, I want her to stay here. I love her. She's one of my favorite characters. Anyways, she thinks it's stupid that her mom's doing this, and her mom's only known the guy for a year. A lot could go wrong, and McKay's like, maybe they're in love. Like, McKay's trying to think of it positively. Samir's like, sounds like lust. And then McKay's like, honestly, that's better sometimes. McKay's like, I could really get laid. McKay's so funny. Langdon greets Robbie, mentions his trip, asks where he's going, and he says head smashed in buffalo jump. And Langdon thinks that it's just gibberish, like he just replies with gibberish back. I instantly got this. Have I ever heard of head smashed in buffalo jump? No, I have not. Did I understand what he was saying automatically? Yes, I did. Okay. Obviously, he's like, I understood 100% that this was like. Anyways, it's an Aboriginal heritage site in Alberta. Did I know it was Canadian? No, but I could have put together that it was some kind of Indigenous site. Robbie sentenced Langdon to triage. He like does not want to deal with him. Robbie didn't think that Langdon was coming back. Like, he thought that he would be back after his sabbatical. Langdon says he already picked up a patient, and Robbie's like, we'll cover for you. We've been doing it for months. And Langdon is like, I know, I'm sorry. I'm grateful. But Robbie is really not trying to have a conversation with him. He just sends him on his way. Langdon's like, we'll talk later. Robbie is like, not right now. Robbie does not want to have a conversation with Langdon. And Langdon, understandably, as part of his program, is probably trying to make amends with Robbie. Okay, that's a huge part of the 12-step program, is making amends. Okay, but Robbie's like, I don't want your amends. Okay. Robbie asks Mel to take Langdon's patient. She's like, oh, I could do triage instead. And he's like, no. Ogilvy looks at the board and asks who he should pick up. And Javardi's like, we're about to get the morning rush. We saw this in season 1. All like the nursing homes bring in their patients early in the morning and everything. And he's like, it looks quiet, which is stupid. Like, I really don't like Ogilvy. Okay, I know I said like 10 minutes ago that there aren't many characters I don't like. I hate Ogilvy. I hate Ogilvy. 7 episodes in, I hate him. I do not want him working at the pit. I don't like him. And I do think, hopefully, by the end of the season, maybe there'll be some kind of like, and there have been some moments. Like, the thing that annoys me about Ogilvy is he has a moment in episode 4 where he like messes up, and you would think that maybe then he'd have some like compassion and some humility. But no, then he continues to be an asshole in episode 6, and it's just like, I don't like Ogilvy. Like, do I think that maybe there could be some kind of arc where he like, I don't know, maybe, okay, but I just don't like it. I don't like it because, yes, these are fictional characters, but like the medical field, I feel like part of the reason I love the pit so much is because like healthcare and medicine is so like deeply personal and impactful, and like something that we all have to deal with in one way or another. And that's why I feel so passionately about the doctors who like mess up or like aren't like, that's why Langdon taking meds from his patient, that really irritates me. That's why Ogilvy's carelessness and the way that he approaches his patients really bothers me, because I myself have been a patient. I myself have had bad experiences with medical professionals, and I've also had really meaningful, impactful, helpful like experiences with medical professionals that like made a world of a difference. Okay. You remember when you're in a like critical like situation health wise, you remember the healthcare workers who made your experience worse and the ones who made your experience better. Do I remember their names? No, I don't. But I remember like things that people have said to me when I've been in like situations and like, so it's just, I care about, okay. So he just pisses me off anyways. And also I just hate this like smugness where he's like, well, it's quiet right now. It's like, this is your first day. Stop acting like you know everything. Then we get an incoming patient from assisted living. The patient has orders for no CPR or intubation, and Ogilvy is like, so there's nothing we can do. Again, it's like, I need to calm down. The thing that bothers me about Ogilvy is I really feel like he's viewing these patients as like experiments or like things he's reading in his textbook, instead of viewing these people as real human beings who are going through medical crises and are probably in some kind of like emotional state because of it, or at the very least their bodies are like in a crisis mode. So I just don't like the way he's approaching it. Like it's data that he's collecting and not like real human beings he's interacting with whose life he's going to impact. He should watch Heart of Dixie. Okay, she wants to be a thorough something surgeon. I don't remember. Orthothoracic. I don't remember. She wants to be a heart surgeon. Whatever. But she doesn't get the fellowship because they're like, you're not nice to patients. So then she goes and she moves to small town Alabama and she grows a heart. She does 1 year of like family medicine and she like learns how to be like a human and not just like, you know what I mean? Anyways, but Whitaker says that do not resuscitate does not mean do not treat. He could perk up with fluids, antibiotics, or at the very least they can just keep them comfortable. And then in Korean, Joy says, who doesn't love torturing the elderly? I love Joy. Santos is teasing Javardi with the nickname Crash that she gave her in season 1 because she passed out at some point. She's been fine. She's never passed out again. It was like the blood or something made her nervous and she passed out. And she's been calling her Crash ever since. Santos really likes giving nicknames. Asks if she said the dummy from earlier and then if she's really charting about it because Javardi's charting about it. And she's like, it's part of the experience. All Hashimi asked them both to do it. And then Santos is like, what are your thoughts on Al Hashimi? She's already bugging me about being behind on my charting. And Santos says she gets now why people say being a second-year resident sucks because it does. She's in her R2 year. And then Javardi says she must have slept through the part of med school where they tell you that you spent 80% of your time typing. Then Javardi's mom, who like just appeared as she's saying the thing about the 80% of your time typing, says that's why surgery is a better lifestyle. She and Dr. Zoe Hart would go. Then Santos introduces herself, and Javardi's mom is like, "Oh, you're the one interested in my surgery program." And Santos is like, "I'm considering double boarding in both surgery and emergency medicine," which she knows sounds ridiculously ambitious. If she didn't have which she knows would sound ridiculously ambitious, if she didn't have the talent to back it up. Javardi says, "And the required action," under her breath. And like the thing is, Santos, love you, queen. I don't think you have. Maybe you have the talent, but like if you're struggling with charting, I really don't spread yourself thin. Okay, I think Santos just spreads herself thin. But anyways, Javardi asks her mom if she's here to see a patient because her mom is a surgeon. If that wasn't obvious. And she's like, I already did. Now I'm here to see why my daughter isn't answering my calls or my texts. Santos steps away from the conversation. And then Javardi's like, when I get a chance, I'll make plans. And then her mom suggests Tuesday, but she's like, I'm working on Tuesday. And she's like, isn't that and she's like, on your birthday, which Santos overhears. Javardi says she'll call them, her mom and her dad, because she's ignoring them tomorrow and they'll plan something for later. But right now, she's a bunch of night shift handoffs to do. Javardi's mom tells Robbie that her daughter is wasting her talents down here, and he says she's a big girl and who can make her own decisions. But Javardi's mom clearly blames Robbie for why her daughter wants to stay in the ER. Maybe she just likes it down here. Like, maybe this is what she wants. Like, I don't know. Like, the thing is, I don't understand, like, as a parent, like, she's already going into medicine. She's like a prodigy. Okay, she's like 21. She's ready in, I don't know what year she's in, of med school. Like, what do you mean? Maybe she's in the last year before residency because residency comes up multiple times for her. Like, maybe that's the phase she's in, but I just don't understand this. I don't understand this attitude from her parents because she's already going into medicine. That is like so much more than so many parents who like want their kids to go into a specific field want. Now if she has to go into this specific kind of medicine you like, why? What if she doesn't want to be a surgeon? She's already going to be a doctor. Being a doctor is really hard. She's just lucky her daughter's dream isn't to be a podcaster, okay? I've been doing this for 4 years and I'm flopping. I'm sure my parents wish I wanted to be I'm kidding. She gets a call and leaves, Javardi's mom does, but tells Robbie that they need to talk. And he says, how about same time tomorrow, quietly under his breath, which was funny to me. Then Santos asks Javardi about her birthday, and she's like, yes, it's Tuesday, but please don't say anything. I get nervous. And then Santos gets pulled away to help the little girl with the chin laceration, Kylie. And the nurse who interrupts is like, know what? Because you've already saying she doesn't want anybody to know. And then Santos, and then once she leaves, Santos calls Javardi birthday girl in Tagalong, I believe. I can't remember if she says this to Princess. I think she says it to Princess. Because there are two main nurses who they speak in Tagalong, I believe. If that's not the language they're speaking, I'm so sorry, but I think it's Tagalong. They speak to each other. Perla and Princess. I believe it was Princess who she said this to, but anyways, because Santos is also Filipino. Robbie is making a call to Duke. I don't know who this is. 7 episodes in, I do not believe we met Duke yet. Saying it's his last shift, he needs him to come in before 3. As of episode 7, we're at 1 p.m. So maybe he comes in episode 8, episode 9. I don't know. We'll see. He needs to come in before 3 in case they need to run some tests. They had a deal. Robbie did with Duke. Do we know who Duke is? I don't remember this man's name. Anyways, Al-Hashimi wants to go over some things before he leaves. First of which is that she wants to no longer refer to the department as the Pit. She specifically says that she wants to launch a campaign to eradicate referring to this wonderful department as the Pit. Like, what do you mean a campaign? A campaign. What do you mean by that, girl? She's so funny. She thinks it subconsciously impacts the people who work there. It lowers expectations, which lowers patient satisfaction scores. And he's like, oh, you've been talking to Gloria. That was a big thing in season 1, that Gloria, whose official position, I do not know. I'm so sorry to Gloria. Patient satisfaction is like, they're not rated well, the hospital. And Robbie's like, if they're alive, they should be satisfied. But anyway, there's an unhoused man in the lobby, and the others in the waiting room want him to be seen urgently because of his smell, which is really sad. Then there's a nun with some eye issues. There's a deaf patient who they're calling, but she can't hear that. Her name's Harlow. She comes in later. There's a patient with an issue on her leg, cellulitis. I do not know what that is. On her leg, Langdon sees her in triage and sends her on her way. She comes back later, though. Sorry, spoiler. Louis hands Langdon his patient passport, and Langdon's like, what is this? And Lupe explains. Then Langdon apologizes to Louis about his meds, but he gets pulled away because somebody left a baby in the bathroom. They lose that elderly patient we saw earlier who had the do not resuscitate orders. Whitaker stops Joy and Ogilvy to do a moment of silence for the patient to respect his humanity, which is something that Robbie did in season 1 as well. The deaf patient is being called, but she can't hear it. Williams, the man who fell, he needs to get an x-ray, but he's acting weird. He's acting altered, I believe is the term. Like he's clearly like confused. Something's wrong with him. Louis needs a tap. I don't know the official things, but Louis is being treated. I believe they're like draining the excess liquid. I do not know anything medical, but Louis is an important character. Santos mentions the baby, and Mel is like not really listening, and so she asks what's going on. And Mel, we find out that she was named in a malpractice lawsuit, so she's worried about her deposition, which is earlier. And Santos says that every ER doc gets named in a lawsuit. She's okay. She's a resident. The hospital will protect her. She's like, you could cut somebody's head off and get away with it. Mel's concerned, and she's like, but don't, obviously. Then Kylie, the little girl with the chin laceration, she's been to another ER a few times with various injuries. She's been injured a lot. So this is where Santos begins to suspect that maybe it's abuse. Dana tells Robbie and Al-Hashimi about baby Jane Doe. There's a patient flirting with Mel. He mentions Boba, and she's like, I love Boba. Me too, Mel. Me too. The unhoused patient gets a shower, I believe, in this episode. It might have been episode 2. I don't know. And then Williams continues to be confused about needing an x-ray, and like he's something's up with him. And the episode 1 ends on the cliffhanger with like, who is baby Jane Doe? They're examining baby Jane Doe, and Al-Hashimi kind of zones out a little bit, and it seems like maybe she recognizes the baby. She doesn't recognize the baby. That was a cliffhanger for nothing. Okay. We do find out, I believe in episode 7, either 6 or 7, that I don't think her reaction to baby Jane Doe was about baby Jane Doe. It was more so like she was zoning out because she's having some other issues. Like, I think this moment I think it was meant to be left on a cliffhanger of like, oh my God, she knows the baby. She doesn't know the baby. She's just having some other issue for some other reason that we haven't gotten clarity on yet. But anyways, The cliffhanger was in Nothing Burger episode. We're on episode 2 now, which is now 8 a.m. I believe, because each episode of The Pit is an hour. I don't know if I established that. The little girl with the bruises, the dad's girlfriend is not being much help. There's more tension with Al Hashimi and Robbie. He asks Santos at some point what her gut says about the little girl, and Al Hashimi's like, what her gut says. And Santos doesn't want to think about what her gut is telling her yet. And Robbie says that gut instinct isn't something AI will ever have. McKay asks Robbie what to do with Williams because her gut is telling her that something's wrong. Al Hashimi's here and she's like, oh, okay. Like she's picking up on the fact that like this is a language they have in the pit, right? People go off of instinct, their gut, while Al Hashimi clearly is more used to like data and they just have different approaches. I like Robbie's better. Does that mean his is better? According to me, yes. It's an opinion. It's an opinion. But anyways, there's a surprise trauma. They don't know what's causing it. Robbie asks McKay and Mel to join. There's more tension with Robbie and Al Hashimi because she wants an opinion from Ortho. Garcia says she's clearly new. Ortho takes their sweet time. Joy and Ogilvy are doing Louis' tap. The wife of the Do Not Resuscitate patient who passed away in episode 1, she's here to see him. Then there's a girl who she glued her eyelash shut, like glued her eye shut with eyelash glue, but it wasn't eyelash glue, it was super glue. And she's here. She's a recurring patient. She keeps asking for Dr. J. She's in triage with Lyndon, and Lyndon doesn't know Dr. J. Javardi and Santos have a conversation because Javardi's mom is driving her crazy, and Santos says that she should just tell her to endorse someone better for the job like Santos. And Javardi's like, you can't do a double residency. And Santos is like, why? Because you tried and you couldn't. And Javardi's like, well, yes. And Santos is like, oh, why? Because you're a genius. What's the square root of 841? And she's like, I'm not a human calculator. But then eventually when Santos is walking away, she does say it's 29. The nun with the eye issues has gonorrhea, which like Javardi's super embarrassed about. The unhoused man has a cast and they remove it and there are maggots. And this made me think about Yellow Jackets because there is a moment, I believe in season 1, where it's season 1, season 2, it's winter. So, and I know it was in season 3, but in season 1, because I watched the interview with Samantha Hanratty, who plays Misty, and she talked about how like they had like maggots on set and they had a maggot handler. And the reason I thought this is because I remember somebody from the cast of The Pit also said they had like somebody handling the maggots. And I remember they filmed Yellow Jackets season 1 outside. Like a lot of it was in the actual woods. And Sammy Hanratty, she is a vegan and she felt so bad for the maggots. So at some point she was like, she moved the maggots and the maggot handler was like, they can't survive. Like this isn't the ecosystem. Like they're safe with me. We're not hurting them. And like, it's absolutely more dangerous if they're out here than if they come with me. It just made me think of that. That's so slay that even maggots have a handler. Like, I love regulations. I love the fact that when animals are on a set, they're well taken care of. Even the maggots, like that's beautiful to me. The new nurse, Emma, is really freaked out by the maggots, which honestly, understandable. Why is there like some kind of, last season there were rats. Now there's maggots, like man. Anyways. Mel helps with the dislocation, which was the trauma from earlier, the mystery trauma, Robbie called it, and then says she guesses they don't need her anymore. And Robbie asks if she's all right. And Mel explains that she's anxious about her deposition. And he tries to help her, says he's been sued 4 times. He asks, like, Dr. Al Hashimi, like, to step in to be like, come on, we've all been sued, right? I think we've all been sued. And she's like, I've never been named in a lawsuit, which I did not know this because I don't know anything about doctors, but I have seen people who do know about this say that if she worked at the VA, when the VA is sued, they don't, like, individual doctors are not named. I saw this multiple times, but I didn't verify this. So if this isn't true, I'm sorry for spreading misinformation. But that sounds accurate to me because the VA is obviously like a government institution. So it's like if you were to sue, like if you sue the police department, like if you're like gravely injured by like a police department, you sue the department, right? You don't sue the individual police officers. I don't know anything. I've never been in a situation. I've never sued anybody. And hopefully I will never have to. I hate the idea of having to sue somebody. Anyways, but that doesn't help Mel because now she's like, great. I guess we don't all get sued. I guess it's just me. It's just me who's being sued. Poor Mel. I love Mel. Javardi is very awkward with the nun with gonorrhea. But we find out she works at an unhoused shelter and she like handles sheets and stuff. So that's probably how she got it. And Mohan is there, Samira, and she is like, we'll get you gloves. Like, it's important to have gloves. Because she's like, do you wear gloves? And she's like, sometimes if they're available. And then Samira is like, we'll make sure you have gloves. I love Samira. I don't want her to leave for New Jersey. Anyways, the patient who had the do not resuscitate, his name is Ethan. His wife is really struggling with his death. She has Alzheimer's, I believe. She isn't grasping the fact that he's dead, which was really, really sad. A social worker then comes to check on Kylie, the little girl with the chin laceration, speaks to the girlfriend, but the dad's not there yet, so they don't have his side of the story yet of like what, you know. Labs on baby Jane Doe are good, but they still need a cath for urine. Robbie says or not. They get the urine without doing a catheter. Good for them. They didn't have to. Williams, I don't remember his last name. He gets a CT scan. The patient, he had like some kind of, it was a minor injury. He continues to flirt with Mel and he asks what she does and she talks about the Ren fair. But then police come in and he runs and knocks her down. Poor Mel. Langdon and Al-Hashimi meet and she asks him to stay, but he steps away when he notices that Mel is being examined for the fall because she got knocked over, right? Then Al-Hashimi is explaining an AI app to the residents as she's like taking a patient's intake. She's like explaining it and having it, whatever, transcribe the whatever. I hate AI. Noelle, the case manager, comes down and tells McKay and Robbie that a patient that they were seeing is going to Westbridge because his insurance will cover the surgery he needs there, but not here. And McKay senses that something is going on between Noelle and Robbie. And there is. They have some kind of relationship, which becomes more clear in the later episodes, like more explicit, but it's implied from the beginning and she senses it too. Langdon then examines Mel and she says that she's glad he's back. He's glad to be back, tells her that he was in rehab, and he apologizes for letting her down. And she says that he never let her down. This was a very sweet moment. I'm happy for the Mel and Langdon shippers. I like Mel and Langdon's dynamic, but not in a romantic way. Like, I do really appreciate, I understand why people ship them together because I do really appreciate the fact that in season 1, she was really clearly struggling and he was able to like see her and be there for her. And like I understand why people ship them. I just don't think that every deeply personal connection of like two people where like they see each other and they're helpful to each other in like a coworker, I just don't see the romance. Like, I'm not moved by them as a romantic duo. I don't see it's not buzzy for me. Like Mohan and Abbott, for example, I didn't know people ship that. And after episode 7, I get it. That's buzzy for me. I feel like, you know, I don't feel like a pat. Like I don't feel it with Mel and Langdon. That's just my opinion. Okay. He did let her down because he should have been setting an example, not being a cautionary tale. Then the police come and explain that the guy who Mel was treating, who knocked her over, robbed a liquor store last night, and he probably came in to hide more than to actually get treatment. And they want to know what Mel can give them, and she may need to testify. And Mel's like, please, no more court. She doesn't say that, but like she's freaked out at the idea of having to testify. Langdon's like, okay, one thing at a time. He turns off the light, and it's a nice callback to season 1. There's a moment where Langdon is like not getting anywhere with a patient who is autistic. And Mel is like, oh, it says in his chart that he's autistic. And Langdon's like, well, how is that relevant? He has some kind of sprain. But then Mel is able to like talk to him and understand him. Her sister's autistic. A lot of people like think that Mel herself is autistic. She's not explicitly autistic. Like, they don't say like she's not like I am autistic, but she is a pretty autistic coded character. But it was a nice callback because in that moment when Mel was seeing that patient who Dr. Langdon wasn't having who Dr. Langdon was having a hard time like meeting at his level, one of the things that Mel did was turn the lights down, and she explained after to him that like the ER is very like noisy and loud and bright, and that can be very overstimulating. And so that was a nice callback of him turning down the lights and being like, that was nice. Okay, I'll give you that. Al-Hashimi finishes her examination with the AI app and shows them the transcription. There's an error though. She says it's good but not perfect. They need to proofread, yada yada yada. But like the thing is that like, and we see it later. The issue is that like in these overworked environments, things will fall through the cracks anyway. So it's like, why give people? I don't know. I don't know. I feel weird commenting on it in terms of doctors because I don't understand what that's like. So I hate AI for what it's doing to the planet. Generative AI, I hate the way that it like kills creativity. Ogilvy speaks in Farsi. He's such a suck up. I'm sorry. She's impressed that he knows Farsi. It's like, okay. Anyways, Ethan's widow, the do not resuscitate patient, she has Alzheimer's and she's struggling with understanding that he has passed away. Ogilvy is a know-it-all and I hate him. That's all I wrote in my notes. I don't remember what this is in response to, but he's really pissing me off. Javardi asks Whitaker how it feels to be a doctor. He got his first paycheck, which was nice. Then she asks about the med students. He says that Joy is pretty peculiar. Ogilvy is smart and wants everyone to know. And then Santos says that he's Javardi's competition. And she's like, what do you mean? And anyways, and she tells Javardi that she should step it up. And then there's a bit of like, now Javardi thinks that she needs to prove herself. Girl, you don't need to prove yourself, okay? You have skills that he doesn't have because he has this weird innate like. Anyways, I need to calm down about my hate for him, but I really don't need to calm down my hate. I do genuinely hate him. Santos leaves, and then Whitaker's like, "Oh, she's still calling you Crash," and she's like, "She still calls you Huckleberry," and he's like, "Yeah, but we're friends." And Javardi's like, friends don't give each other bad nicknames. And he's like, it's a bad nickname? He's so sweet. I love him. And she's like, no, it's cool. Not like Crash. And he's like, no, Crash is cool. Anyways, Langdon joins them, calls them doctors. And Javardi's like, oh, I'm just a student doctor. Whitaker's the real deal. She says it's good to have him back. And there's like tension with Whitaker and Langdon. Okay, you can tell Whitaker has like a loyalty to Robbie. And he probably like I think there's some tension there. I don't think Whitaker likes Langdon. Also, probably Whitaker is like lives with Santos, and Langdon was very mean to Santos in season 1, so that's probably part of it. That's probably part of it. He's loyal, and I like that about Whitaker. Langdon goes back to exile on Triage Island. Princess and Perla talk about Javardi's birthday. Princess asks if Javardi looks 21. And Perla's like, this place ages you. I love them. Orlando Diaz comes in. He's a recurring character and recurring patient. He tripped over some rebarb. He was talking but is now unresponsive. And they think he's diabetic based off of ketones on his breath or something on his breath. I don't know anything about diabetes. Sorry. Santos thinks the little girl is being abused. Her dad still isn't here, and she's like, well, if he doesn't show up, that makes him look suspicious. She's anyways, Javardi and Ogilvy, there's like tension and competition. He's insufferable. I hate him. Robbie says that they evaluate their students not just by their skills, but their abilities to be team players. And it's really funny because they're both like, oh, I'll do it. And then when he says that, they're like, oh no, she can do it. He can do it. It's very funny. There's a moment where McKay asks Dana about Williams, and Dana doesn't have information, but she's like, there are results back about this person and this person. And Dana's like, that's not mine. Or McKay's like, neither of those are mine. It was very brief, but like there seems to be maybe some tension there. So I noted it in case it comes up later. Peds is now saying they won't take baby Jane Doe without a urine tox screen and HIV antigen test. Like, poor baby Jane Doe can't catch a break. Mel is distracted about her deposition still. The widow with Alzheimer's sees her husband in the viewing room. Whitaker's there. It's a very emotional, sad moment. It's very, very sad. I can't imagine, like, grief is already so difficult to, like, not be able to, like, it's all just very sad. It's all very sad. Robbie takes a moment in the ambulance bay, and Al-Hashimi finds him there and goes up to him to ask about feedback, and he thinks that the department functions pretty well, all things considered. And she starts talking about generative AI, patient passports, and then an ambulance pulls up with a college kid in distress, and their conversation is therefore tabled. And he's like, "Do you really want to do this now?" And I wrote in my notes, patient passports seems fine. AI, I have issues with. So we pick up in episode 3, which I believe now is 9 a.m. I didn't write the time because it's not like the titles really matter. Anyways, the student who is in distress, he's tasered by campus security. We get more history on him later, and that campus security guy is on my shit list. Then there's a deaf patient. The deaf patient, Lupe, apologizes to her in Lupe is like, she works in like the check-in area. Anyways, they apologize to the deaf patient because they missed the ASL note in her chart, so they were just calling her name and she didn't hear it. Anyways, they tell her there's an interpreter and now they'll bring her back as soon as possible. Dana speaks to the unhoused patient about getting him ongoing care set up, and it's like very, I love Dana. The campus security officer from the incident with the student appears, and his vibes are horrible. Okay, the patient is sedated because he came in unresponsive and agitated, so he's sedated. He's fine. Like, and the campus security officer is like, "I'm going to stay here to wait to give my statement and to watch him." You don't need to watch him. I hate this man. He calls the student an animal, says he's probably on meth, wants to stay in the hallway until the cops come to give a statement, also so he can watch the student. He tasered. Like, I hate this guy. I hate this guy. Anyways, Santos still anxious about Kylie, thinks that something's going on with her. That's a common theme until her dad eventually comes, and I'll mention. They stabilize the student and they move him because there's a double trauma in the back. It's a car/motorcycle accident. There's a husband and wife who were in the car, and then the motorcyclist, he's in critical condition. The husband's in critical condition, but the wife isn't, from the car. Robbie lies here about wearing a helmet. They're like, "Oh, Robbie, you ride a motorcycle too." And he's like, "Yeah, but I always wear a helmet." Liar. He's a liar. You don't always wear your helmet. But anyways, the husband from the car crash is struggling. They're treating him. The wife is there. There are a lot of patients flirting with McKay, which, like, I don't like this dynamic. Okay, because at some point she kind of flirts back, and it's just like, I don't like that. Anyways, Louis is still being treated. The results for Williams come back. The man who fell and he needed a CT scan, and he has a mass in his head, specifically on the frontal lobe. They don't know what it is yet. They need to do an autopsy, but it could describe why he's acting like confused and maybe even why he fell. There is a guy who comes with his family, like a bunch of them. I think they're treating like two of his they're treating some of his family, and then they go out into the lobby and they see the red, I don't know. Anyways, this guy comes with a bunch of his family members, and they pull meds, and he just took meds. He doesn't know what meds he took, which, whatever. Mrs. Yi, the husband and wife from the car accident, are Mr. and Mrs. Yi. She is concerned about her husband, but she refuses an assessment for herself. She's like, the medics checked me out. I'm fine. Robbie and Al-Hashimi go their separate ways. Then there's a woman with a burn. She dropped a samovar when firecrackers went off. She put honey on the burn. Emma's there treating her, but she doesn't want treatment until the doctor comes in. Then Robbie comes in and introduces himself. She's like, "Oh, you're Jewish." And then she asks where he goes for synagogue. And she goes to Tree of Life. There was a mass shooting at the Tree of Life years and years ago. I remember when this happened as well. And that was obviously very impactful. So she goes to this synagogue that was impacted by that. He says he'll have her patched up in time for dinner and fireworks, and she says no more fireworks. Clearly, loud noises startled her, and we do get more backstory on her later in the episode. And I found this to be I liked this character. I found this to be a very heartwarming thing. I think especially when you're the show is set in Pittsburgh. I think having moments like this when you're talking about local history, and even I don't remember what exactly. There was a character in season 1 where he had a lot of medical knowledge, and it's they didn't know why he had all this medical knowledge, and then he was part of some firefighting, not firefighters, but like the first EMTs that were trained, which is like a real historical thing in Pittsburgh. Like I like these moments where we're connecting to like where the show is set, you know? So I thought this was I like this. And I think also the fact that it's the 4th of July, I think having people who have some kind of like PTSD from the loud noises is super like I think it was a great storyline. Anyways, Kylie's dad arrives and he gets mad at his girlfriend for Kylie getting injured. Then Dylan, the social worker, comes and speaks to him, but he's very combative. He's very combative. He's very angry. He gets upset about the insinuation that he even be hurting his daughter because his girlfriend's at the rough house. And he's mad. He's mad. He fights with his girlfriend. He's raising his voice. Security tries to separate it. He's fighting with everybody. And then Dana interrupts to say that Kylie's platelets are low, only 9,000, whatever that means. I'm not a doctor. And so her injuries are most likely due to a clotting issue, not because of ongoing abuse. Back with the old woman with the burn, Robbie's treating the wound and asks about dropping the samovar. She explains that she was on her way inside the synagogue when the shooting started and there was nothing she could do. She went in after the police arrived. She's better now, but like New Year's Eve, the 4th of July, it still gets her. It's a very, I think, important conversation to have about, and also just a reality. I think season 1, they obviously covered a mass shooting and like the very real reality of like how intense that was in the moment and how many people they lost and like how difficult that was for the healthcare workers, for the people involved. And something like this, I think, is also really good because we see like the moment, the trauma of the moment, but even like the long-term impacts for even people who are not. I really like how the Pit navigates things are like very real, and I think does so like with compassion. And I thought this storyline was really great. If the Pit does anything for me, it really just upsets me with the state of healthcare in this country, about the state of gun violence in this country. Like it's all just like, because it's real. Like the thing is, you're watching it and it's real. That's true. That is how things happen. Samira grabs Robbie because Mr. Yi is back from his CT scan. Mrs. Yi is really upset. She feels like it's her fault. They had fought. Then they get the results and his neck is not broken. Then Samira gets another call. His potassium is really low. So it's something I don't know. I don't understand anything about this. Baby Jane Doe taking formula really well. The police campus come to take a statement from the guy. The police come to take a statement from the campus security guy. Mrs. Yi passes out. She has bruising, very likely internal bleeding. They're mad that they didn't insist to get treatment, but like hindsight's 2020, and she refused, and they like pushed multiple times. Like rewatching it, because I remember I rewatched all of the episodes to take my notes, and I remember the first time you watch it, you're like, man, they should have checked her. But when you rewatch it, you see how many times they did ask, and she was like, no, I'm fine. The paramedic saw me, like I'm fine. So it's not really their fault. Like it is, but it's not. It's not really their fault. Patients should and are allowed to refuse things. If you hear any noise in the background, that's my cat. I'm sorry. One of the case patients points out that the patient passport says it's only supposed to take an hour or two for x-rays, but he's been waiting for a while. And again, it's interesting to see that maybe the patient passport is causing issues and stuff. But maybe it'll help when they have to go analog. We'll see in episode 8. I'm not there yet. And neither are you, because this podcast episode is going to go out before episode 8 does. But anyways, maybe they'll actually increase patient satisfaction. Maybe they won't, because people will be mad that they're taking longer than the passport says. Who knows? Williams' emergency contact arrives, and she doesn't know why she's still his emergency contact. They've been divorced for years, but she asks if he's okay, and McKay explains that he's been going through a lot. They figure out what meds the guy who from the family that pulls all their meds took. Nancy, Mrs. Yi, goes to surgery to repair the damage from the internal bleeding, and Mr. Yi feels bad. He feels like it's his fault. She booked the trip, and he was upset with her. And it's like sad. They're both blaming each other. At the end of the day, you're all mad about like the semantics of a plan, and then when somebody's life is in danger, who cares about the rest? Like it's all very sad. It's all very sad. He asks if this is how it works. You think things are important, and then you end up here in C. Like that's so true and so sad. Mr. Williams and his ex have like a very sweet moment where clearly like they had a bad relationship, but they still, like, it was very, very sweet. It was very, very sweet. And she has a moment with McKay later, which I'll get to. Mr. Diaz is being treated. His daughter then comes, but says his mom, her mom is still on the way because she has to take the bus. Javardi and Ogilvy are like explaining back and forth things. And I hate him. I hate him. He's so smug and annoying. Anyways, there's a little boy with beads up his nose. He's only here this one episode, but there's like a nice moment about fatherhood with Donnie, Langdon, the little boy's dad. The labs for the student came back. The talk screen is negative. Fuck that security guard guy for real. Louis is struggling now that he's been emptied. His tooth hurts. Perla and the woman with the burn have a nice moment. She says the Muslim community really helped her after the shooting, really helped the Jewish community after the shooting because Perla is a hijabi. They have a nice moment where she thanks her. Robbie comes back and they explain his sabbatical. And Perla's like, he's leaving for 3 months on a motorcycle. And this old woman is so funny. She's like, you're joking. You're too old to be riding a motorcycle. I loved her for that. Kylie's dad and his girlfriend then fight. They break up. Mr. Yi is watching. He then asks Dana if he can record a message for his wife. She helps him. It's very sweet. She pulls up his phone and has him record it. And he says that he was listening to a couple argue and he wanted her to know that he was wrong and he's sorry. On episode 7, we still don't have an update. So hopefully she's okay. I'm anxious now that anyways. Mr. Williams' ex and McKay talk, and she says that he was different at the end of their relationship. She asks if the mask could have been there for a while and been responsible for his moods and tempers. And McKay says it's possible. It's a very sad moment. As she's leaving, she says that unless he's asked them to change it, she'd like to be left as his emergency contact. Robbie then tells Dana that he's sending Mrs. Kovalenko, the old woman with the burn, I'm so sorry, to her home with a wound dressing. Says she made his sabbatical to turn his sabbatical into a midlife crisis. And then asks about Kylie. They're hoping to send her up soon. Then Dana gets a call. Westbridge has a code black. Central's diverting all their ambulance traffic to the pit. They don't know how long that's going to take. And they set up a betting grid, which is something that they established in season 1. And Robbie says, I should have left last night. And that's how the episode ends. In episode 4, the betting board is explained to Al-Hashimi, and she bets after Robbie does and kind of just like one-ups his bet, which is so unserious. Dana suggests bringing Lyndon back from triage, but Robbie says no. The girl with the eyelash glued shut, it is in the waiting room. The mineral water is not working. The sister of the college kid, his name's Jackson and her name's Jada, she checks in. The deaf patient, Harlow, is now being seen, but Johnny, the nurse, this really irritated me. He is speaking to the interpreter and is like, what does Harlow feel? Instead of just talking to her, and I get it, maybe people don't understand how interpreters work, but it's like you talk to the person that you're talking to. Because the interpreter, for example, they're not like, Harlow, they don't speak about her in the third person. Like if I'm Harlow and I'm signing to the interpreter's like, my head has been hurting for 3 weeks or however long it is. Like she doesn't say Harlow's head has been hurting. Like it's an interpreter. She's just literally like speaking for her. But anyways, she does call it out and she's like, you can speak to me, I don't bite. Harlow does. There's a woman with a cough in triage and Landon says they'll bring her back and she's clearly impatient. She wants to get back to work. Princess asks Javardi about her birthday, but she says she hates celebrating. Whitaker then joins the conversation and is like, oh, so that makes you a Cancer. And Javardi's like, I'm surprised I didn't peg you as an astrology girly. And he's like, he's been spending too much time around Santos. Then Santos joins the conversation. Also, fun fact, I was supposed to be born on the 4th of July. That was my original due date, but I was a C-section, so I was not born on the 4th of July. And I'm a Gemini. I was supposed to be a Cancer, but I'm a Gemini. But I'm also a twin, so I'm like, I know do twins ever really make it to full term? Most of the time they don't, right? That's I don't know. That's what I heard. But I would have, anyways. Princess doesn't know how they do it, live together and work together. And Javardi says it can't be as bad as living at home. And Whitaker says that he misses that, and Santos can tell because we find out in this episode the Whitaker has been spending time with the widow from season 1. In season 1, this guy came in with burns all over his body. His wife was pregnant and he didn't make it, but they had a farm and Whitaker befriended them, and now he spends a lot of time at the farm with this widow and her baby. Al Hashimi asks Santos if she's getting caught up on her charting. Enough with the charting. She said she says she'd hate to see her repeat her R2 year. Like, why are you threatening her? Like, that is where it really irritates me. You're threatening her. Okay, I need to calm down. Javardi, Santos, and Whitaker join Robbie at the ambulance bay. They have some reroutes from Westbridge. And Santos asks what they think of Dr. Hashimi. Javardi's like, you're gossiping about an attending with another attending? And Santos is like, Robbie doesn't mind. Robbie's just one of the girls. But anyways, Whitaker compliments Robbie's bike, which is parked nearby. The bike is very important. The bike is a very important character. Patients are coming in. Javardi and Santos and Whitaker go ahead with one, and then Robbie sees another. There's a patient, Vince, who fell through a skylight. His friend is recording him on a GoPro. And she really pissed me off. She was trying to record while they were examining her. And they were like, we have patient like confidentiality. And she's like, no, he gave me permission. Well, I didn't. This is my hospital, so leave. Like, he's not the only one in the room or in the ER. Anyway, McKay teaches Ogilvy how to intubate. I hate this guy. Sorry. Whitaker is concerned about one of the patients who just came in, his test results. He thinks that maybe there's something else wrong. So they do it again, and then it turns out he was right. And Whitaker kind of slays that. Shout out to Whitaker. Jada Jackson, the college kid's sister, comes in, asks if he's okay. They explain what happened. She's really concerned because this does not sound like her brother. He's not like a very agitated. Like, this sounds, she's confused. She's concerned and she's confused. Ogilvy is super excited that he just performed an intubation, and Joy says he's a prick. And this is my issue with Ogilvy. He's treating it like, oh, that's so exciting, I had to intubate somebody. Like, intubating somebody, like, do I think modern medicine is a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful thing that we can't intubate people? Yes, I think that's beautiful. But if you're intubating somebody, they're in some kind of, like, medical crisis. Maybe don't view it like it's, like, an exciting new thing you got to try. He pisses me off, sorry. Okay. Whitaker checks with Robbie about his concern, as I said, and he does it, and he slays. Whitaker saves that guy's life, Loki. Anyways, Orlando Diaz's wife arrives, and Mohan assures them that he's going to get better. His wife then pulls Mohan aside and explains that they don't have health insurance. And she's like, I'm going to go get the case manager. She can maybe help. The eyelash girl is still struggling. She can either wait 2 weeks for the super glue to break down, or he can cut down the eyelashes and weaken the glue. Anyways, so he cuts down the... Mel asks Santos if a patient has ever flirted with her, and then mentions that a patient flirted with her earlier, but he turned out to be a criminal. But it was a nice distraction from the deposition. And Santos is like, you're still worried about that? And she's like, I've been counting down the hours. There's 5 left. Mel and Santos see the patient with the cough. The patient is clearly in a hurry. Like, she's impatient. She does not want... Like, she's like, I got to get back to work. Which, another thing that's common in the pit is people are very anxious to get back to work. Like, there is such a... Which is just very real in the world we live in. Which bothers me. Not because of them, but because... And there's another patient who, like, that one's more intense because she's like, I'm going to get fired. It's like, man, people can't even prioritize their health because they're worried about their jobs. What's up with that? Santos is not super present with the patient. Mel is trying to, like, be like, what do you see? Like, anyways, Joy and Ogilvy are treating the guy who fell through the skylight. They're removing glass from his body. Then McKay asks Joy a question and Ogilvy answers. And she's like, I didn't know that your name was Joy. I'm going to have to tell my parents that they were so trendy. I love her and I hate him. Joy cuts herself on the glass and then she has to get treatment because her blood mixed with his blood. And you have to make sure that they don't have, like, ugh. Anyways, a couple more diverted from Westbridge. Al Hashimi asks if they should bring Langdon in from triage. And Robbie says no. Robbie hears the name Langdon. He says no. Like, anyways, they look at the betting board. Al Hashimi says she'll buy Robbie a drink with her winnings. Jada and Javardi talk. He's not back from CT yet. Then he comes back. It seems normal, so they don't know what's wrong yet. There's another test they can do, but, like, psych will come down. There's an older patient who's been flirting with McKay. He's a broken tailbone. She fixes it. I don't really care. There's another patient who continues to flirt with her, and he's like ready to go, and he's like, so I won't see you anymore. And she's like, not as your doctor, but like I am going to be at this place at this hour tonight. And I hated this. I hated this. Okay, I like meet a man in a different context. Okay. I don't like this. I don't like this. He's your patient. That's weird. Sorry. Ogilvy thinks he can handle Louis's tooth. Whitaker says that this is only a temporary solution to Louis. He'll have to go see a dentist. And then Louis asks about Dr. Collins, Heather, who I mentioned earlier. And Whitaker explains she moved to Portland. Noelle, the case manager, explains to Samira that the Diaz family both work part-time, but they don't have coverage. But they make too much to qualify for Medicaid or Medicare. Medicaid, sorry. Medicare, I believe, is the one you get when you're... Anyways, his daughter overhears that they don't have insurance. She didn't know. Joy gets her blood drawn, and the nurse, Emma, she drops the vial. Like, this was so... It gets run over. Poor Emma, poor Joy. The patient who fell through the skylight seems stable, but his partner notices, like the girl who was filming, notices blood on his back. So they move him, they flip him over. And then, and Ogilvy looks excited in this moment. They're bleeding, they have to move him, and he looks excited. I hate him. I need to calm down, but I hate him. That's a human who's bleeding. That's a human being who's bleeding. Anyways, there's glass in his back, and Ogilvy very stupidly begins to pull it out, and the guy starts gushing blood because obviously when there's like... I hate him. And you would think that this moment he would have some humility. He'd be like, I don't know everything. Maybe I shouldn't be such a gunner. No, he doesn't. He doesn't change. Okay. I need to calm down. Mel shows Santos the results for the patient with the cough, and she has aspiration pneumonia, and Mel theorizes that it's because she has an eating disorder and tells Santos to check her enamel. Psych comes for a consult with Jackson, the agitated college student, but he's still asleep. Garcia is mad about the glass being pulled out of this guy's back, which, like, me too. They stabilize him, thankfully. The psychiatrist speaks to Robbie about the motorcyclist and how that might be hard for him. And we learned that Robbie and him are friends, and that Robbie has been through a few therapists because they're not really his speed. Then Whitaker joins the betting board. The eyelash girl, it's still glued. She's really insisting she needs to talk to Dr. J. And she shows Langdon Javardi's TikTok. And then Javardi comes and Javardi helps solve it. It's so funny. I love the fact that she's a TikToker. They check her enamel, the patient with the cough, and she does eventually, she does say that she has an eating disorder. She explains her situation. They say they can get her treatment, and she specifically wants to see a Black woman as her doctor, which is super, super valid. I personally don't like seeing male therapists, so I can't judge. Orlando Diaz explains that he's been taking less insulin than he should. He can't afford the test strips for the glucose monitoring. Then his daughter and wife come in, and his daughter says that she set up a GoFundMe, but he's upset. It's also sad. Like, again, it's fucked. It's fucked. This country is like one of the richest countries in the world, if not the richest countries in the world. We have a fucking trillionaire and billionaires, but people go into medical debt, people become homeless, people die, people end up in critical condition, all because they can't afford their meds. It's bullshit. It's bullshit, and I hate it, and I'm mad. I need to calm down. Langdon checks on Louis, and then Louis asks about Langdon's children. Langdon mentions their dog digging stuff up, and Louis offers a solution because Louis was a groundskeeper for all those years. Robbie sees that Langdon is seeing Louis and is obviously mad because he has banished Langdon to triage. But Robbie's called away by Dana. Alashini sees Langdon leaving the room and tells him to come back from triage once he wraps everything up. Santos says that was a good catch on Mel's part about the patient with the eating disorder. And Mel explains that she did a lot of research about eating disorders when she was younger because she thought that she had one. And she's like, no, I didn't. But me and my sister were really picky eaters because of texture and that. And I'm like, again, I like the Mel is autism allegations being like, I mean, that's also, some people just have ARFID. They're not like, ARFID is, I don't know what it stands for, but like version, but like sensory issues specifically with food and stuff like that, that is common for people who are like, for autistic people. So like this is, and obviously Mel's sister is autistic, so like this would make sense. Anyways, and Mel says that she's around if Santos ever wants to talk about her or 2 year or anything, and gives her advice that dictating helps with charting faster. Santos asks Whitaker about the patient from Westbridge, and he explains what happens. Like the one who he caught that he had to he like ran another test and he caught that he was having a heart attack, and they like stabilized him. He says he thinks most clinicians wouldn't have missed it. And she's like, but you didn't. And she's upset. And he's like, did I do something wrong? And she leaves. Like Santos, I really feel like is spreading herself thin. And like the fact that Whitaker caught this, that's great. That's good news. Why are you like, but there's like even what she said to Javardi about like Ogilvy is your competition. It's like, I feel like she's projecting, right? Like she feels like these people are her competition. So she's telling Javardi, I think you need to step it up. I don't think, like, you know what I mean? Anyways, the episode ends with Donnie telling Langdon that one of the patients from triage came back. She had cellulitis and it spread really bad. And it's like, something's really bad. Her name's Debbie Cohen. It's really bad. Episode 5, the patient with the infection is really worried about time. She's really worried about work. She's like, this can't take too long. Santos is really struggling with her charting, and she keeps getting interrupted every time she starts to chart. She's called in a different direction. Dana sends Santos to a patient, but she's like stressed about charting. And then Dana sees Ogilvy and sends her and is like, supervise while you chart. You can chart while you supervise. With the Diaz family, his wife is trying to explain that setting up a GoFundMe is what people in this generation do. Like trying to be like, don't be mad at your daughter. He wants to leave. They can't afford this. It's so upsetting. Okay. The patient with the leg issue, she's on the phone with her boss and she's like, please don't fire me. Like she's freaking out. And then Robbie, badass, love this. He picks up the phone and he's like, this is Dr. Michael Rabinovich. If you fire her, she will sue you and I will testify in court on her behalf. I love that. But anyways, Jada is really upset about her brother being tased, which is valid. The leg infection for this waitress is not getting better, and for her name's Debbie. And there's a lot of tension with Robbie and Langdon because Langdon obviously saw this patient originally, sent him home with meds. The meds weren't working, and Robbie's mad because now this has progressed, and like he doesn't trust Langdon, so there's tension there because he doesn't trust Langdon, so he's like assuming the worst. Anyways, or not even assuming the worst, but I think he's like, because he doesn't trust Langdon, the fact that it was Langdon's patient makes it even worse. I don't even know. I'm not making sense. Then in this episode, we also meet Roxy. She comes in. She's a hospice patient who had a seizure and hit her leg on the coffee table. She becomes a character for the next few episodes as well. Then there's an inmate who comes in who was assaulted in jail, and the prison guards will not allow them to remove his handcuffs, and it really pisses me off. Like they're like, he's incapacitated. We really don't need these handcuffs. He's not going to get up and leave. Like we're fine. He can't. Like the man is like incapacitated, and they won't let him remove the handcuffs, even if it's getting in the way of the treatment. And another thing I hate about this country, I hate the prison industrial system. Like the Pitt just pisses me off because it's like there are these scenarios that are so angering, and then you're like, but this is real life. This is real life. This is real life. People get treatment. Inmates get treatment, and they're not even treated like human beings. People are unhoused and they're on the street so long enough that they can't get a cast removed, and there are maggots in there. People, like, this is all, like, people are in so much medical debt that they don't want to be treated, even though they're going to, like, there's acid in their blood, which Mohan explains later to Mr. Diaz. It's like so upsetting. It's so upsetting that this is reality. This is reality. I'm sorry. I just, I need to calm down. Anyways, the leg patient is getting really serious. There's still tension with Langdon and Robbie. Santos is still struggling with her charting. Every time she gets a moment to chart, she gets interrupted and sent to another patient. She's bringing Ogilvy around, though, every time she does. Louis gets Librium, and there's a tense moment where Whitaker is like, I'll put it in the order. Because Langdon is like, I think maybe you should take some Librium. Like, maybe we should get you some Librium. And Whitaker's like, I'll and it's like obviously tense because Whitaker is like, oh my God, he's gonna think it's because, and he's like, oh no, I was his doctor already. Anyways, there's a patient with a bad cough that Santos leaves Ogilvy to see. She's like nearby, but she's not really supervising. And he's kind of an asshole to this patient about smoking. He's like, do you smoke? He's like, have you ever thought about quitting? It's like, yeah, of course. Like, the thing is, are there people who have unhealthy habits and don't genuinely understand the severity of their unhealthy habits? Of course. Do I think that it is helpful to like speak to a smoker who's like I feel like smokers know that smoking is bad for you. I feel like Louis knows that being a chronic alcoholic, it's so not compassionate to the reality of why people like get addicted to things or why people have unhealthy habits. Like, it really pisses me off. It really pisses me off. Sorry. Also, they're not masked at all. And it's like, just be safe. Just be safe. Like, sorry, not to jump ahead, but this patient later, they do an x-ray and it seems like she might have TB. And now he's been exposed to TB. And I'm like, would he probably still have had to get the treatments if he was exposed to TB? Maybe. I'd probably better safe than sorry. But it's like, if you were wearing a mask before you knew what the hell was going on, maybe you wouldn't have been exposed to TB. And also then once they get the x-ray back and Santos is like, mask up while you're moving her. You should have been masked up from the beginning if she had a bad cough, okay? I mean, I think you should mask up even if the person doesn't have a cough. But like, if you're seeing somebody with a cough, wear a mask. The bare minimum. Anyways. And if I was the patient and I had a cough, I'd also be masked. The hospice patient and her husband, she's a recurring character. I don't have much to say about her. There's a lot of tension with the husband. She's like clearly struggling. We get more in later episodes. I don't have much to say about her in this episode, but I have stuff to say about her in later episodes. The Diaz family is in a predicament where even with the support that's offered to them, like they can reduce their bill significantly, it's still not enough. So Joy is like, well, what if we send them to med surg instead of ICU? And Mohan is like, they're not going to take him with an insulin drip. And then Noelle's like, maybe they will. We'll like, I can go check. Joy comes up with this idea, right? Okay. There's like banter between Noelle and Robbie. Clearly they have a history. And she like says that he's not going to last on his sabbatical based on her experience. He's a 7-week-itch kind of guy. And then once Robbie leaves, she says something to Dana about how Robbie can't stand to be alone for more than a few hours. He sleeps with a TV on in his bedroom. And Dana's like, I don't really think I need to know that. Clearly they have some kind of history. And I'm with Dana. I don't really think I need to know that. Al-Hashimi tells Langdon that she's happy he's back. And he's like, because he's like, not everybody's happy I'm back. And she's like, well, I'm happy you're back. I mean, you don't even know him. Of course you're happy he's back. Mohan is still getting messages from her mom. And Whitaker says if you ignore issues, they just kind of go away. And Mel's like, I wish I could ignore my deposition. Mohan's like, well, you really can't ignore that. And Whitaker's like, what's wrong with you? Roomie trouble? And he's like, no, just this awkward moment with Langdon earlier. And he explains. Anyways, he's like really self-conscious about this, which I guess is valid. But that's the least of Langdon's worries. Okay, Robbie is like outwardly, you like maybe kind of passive aggressively were like, I don't trust you. Robbie to his face is like, I don't trust you. You're fine. He does not care about you. Maybe he does, but like not as much as he cares about Robbie. Anyways, in my opinion. Robbie asks Dana if she brought Langdon back and from triage, and she's like, no, Al-Hashimi did. But like Langdon did everything he could. If you think he did something wrong, tell him. Because Robbie's clearly like upset about the waitress with the infection who left and came back, and like Dana's like, he did everything that anybody else would have done. If you think he did something wrong, tell him. Clearly, like, he's holding all this resentment, and Daniel's like, just tell him. The guy who got sent away in one of the early episodes, he got sent to Westbridge because his insurance wouldn't, it might have been episode 1 or 2. He got sent to Westbridge because his insurance wouldn't cover the surgery in the Pittsburgh facility, like this facility. He got sent back because Westbridge's traffic is being diverted. Like, what the fuck do you mean? This poor guy. The nurse, the charge nurse from the first episode, she's back and she's Roxy, the hospice patient's death doula. The like patient needs a surgery consult. And they said they sent down a resident who knows nothing. Knows nothing. Robbie's like, have you ever seen this? And he's like, I was a med student 2 weeks ago. Why are you here? The inmate, they're trying to stitch up some of his wounds, and they're really struggling because his skin is weak. It's like the condition is like close to an 80-year-old. It's so sad. It's so sad. I'm sorry. I literally hate the prison industrial system. Like, it just, one, it doesn't make anybody safer. It doesn't make people better. It's fucked. It's fucked. I'm sorry. Treating, I've said this so many times in so many different contexts, but I believe this so wholeheartedly. Being cruel to people doesn't make them kinder. And I'm not saying I don't think people should be held accountable, and if they do something wrong, they shouldn't make amends. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the way the system is set up right now, people literally, like, the for-profits, I don't need to go on a tangent, but like the for-profit prison system, literally, like billionaires have an incentive for crime to happen so they can make money off of these prisoners and then treat them like free labor. It's just fucked. It's just fucked. It doesn't make anybody better. If we improved conditions, like, people would commit less crimes. It just pisses me off. I need to calm down. I need to calm down. It's just like, even if this man committed a heinous crime, we shouldn't treat him like I don't know. Like, he is like literally malnourished. He's malnourished. That's fucked. I'm sorry. I really pisses me off. Joy's solution for Mr. Diaz's family ends up working. MedSurg says that they'll take him, and that reduces his bill significantly. And Mohan apologizes for like doubting her and is like, how did you think of that? And she explains that she and her family had to come up with creative ways to help her uninsured grandma, who had leukemia. It taught her that she doesn't want to work with people who are dying, which I really like this. And I don't believe I've said this, but I really like Joy as a character because I think it's really important and nice to see like these students on rotations that like they don't really resonate with, because that is the reality of med school, is you go through multiple rotations and you decide kind of like what you actually like. And so I like the fact that we have Joy here who's like, this isn't her vibe. And she's not bad at it, but she clearly, her heart isn't in it because it's not what she wants to go into. Al Hashimi suggests Santos use her AI app to help with the charting. And Santos says that she usually stays a few hours after to catch up on her charting. Like, this is when I really was like, I'm pissed at Al Hashimi. She's getting the work done. It's just taking her longer. She's staying after to do it. It's not like she's neglecting the work. It takes her longer to do it. She's staying hours after her shift to get the work done, but you're like threatening to hold her back if she doesn't do it. Like, what are you talking about? It pisses me off. I need to calm down. This episode should just be called Emily Gets Rage Bait. It's not even rage bait, because I like rage bait would, like, I'm just genuinely passionate about it. You know, it's not rage bait. But anyways, Robbie is like nearby and he overhears, and he says that AI may make doctors more efficient, but then hospitals will expect them to treat more patients while not increasing pay or hiring more people. And it's like, period. That's the issue. That's the issue with all of these things. It's like innovation then just leads to companies thinking, how can I make a profit? Okay. It's not about making anybody's life easier. It's about making people richer. And I hate that. I need to calm down. Healthcare should not be for profit. This shouldn't be for profit. People's lives shouldn't be for profit. People shouldn't be like inmates where they're like literally slave labor. I'm angry. People shouldn't be going into medical debt. Like, people shouldn't be rationing insulin because they can't afford it. It pisses me off. I'm angry. The inmate patient, all of his labs come back. He's like literally malnourished. He's malnourished. And we get a moment with him in episode 6, I believe, where like we find out more about him, and he's like a local, and Dana and him bond over like a place that it pisses me off. It's like he's a human being. Anyways, there's tension with the hospice patient and her husband. I don't like him. I had no negative feelings towards him, and then somebody on TikTok pointed out that the actor played Oliver on the OC, and I hated that guy, so now I don't like him. But the episode ends with Langdon checking on Louis, and Louis is crashing. And episode 6 is going to be a hard one for me. Okay. Episode 6 opens with Louis really struggling. A patient grabs Emma in the hallway, and Dana gets really upset. And there's like a sign, and she's like, "Do you not see the sign? Okay, it's a fine if you assault healthcare workers." Clearly, she's having like an emotional response based off of the stuff that happened in season 1. Princess is very kind to the hospice patient as she is struggling. Then Louis doesn't make it. This tells Donnie about Louis not making it. And then she's like, on a happier note, me and Perla are planning a birthday party for Javardi. She's turning 21. Ogilvy makes a really mean comment about Louis being a chronic alcoholic. He's like, go figure. Like, you would think you literally like caused a man to gush blood because you're too stupid to not pull out glass. Like, I hate Ogilvy. I need to calm down. And then immediately after this, Whitaker comes and he's like, hey, can you do this? I need to go check on Louis. And he says to Whitaker, he croaked about Louis. Hold me back because I'm pissed. I hate this man. I hate him. Sorry. Langdon finds a photo with Louis' things, and it's like him and a woman, and they're like, I didn't know. They call his emergency contact because they're like, maybe it's family we didn't know he had. And Dana picks up because it's the ER. Sorry. I can't do that. It's so sad. The deaf patient's interpreter leaves because the hospital only has they're short staffed on interpreters as well, and there's another patient that needs her, I think, in labor and delivery. I don't know. Then there's another motorcyclist for an accident, but he was actually wearing a helmet. When they're trying to help the incarcerated patient, they realize how bad the resources are, how badly he's being treated. He doesn't have a blend. He needs his jaw is wired shut, but he can't eat anything with the liquid diet is super hard because he doesn't have a blender, so he can't I need to calm down. It's just so upsetting. It's really upsetting. His diet is horrible. He's not getting any nutrients he needs. Al Hashimi later says it's a miracle he hasn't developed a chronic illness. I'm pissed. Why? And the thing is, this is reality. And this man is being worked to the bone. Actually, maybe not. But it's prisoners work and they... Okay, I need to calm down. Look up firefighters, incarcerated firefighters in Los Angeles. I live in Los Angeles. The incarcerated firefighters helped significantly when we were dealing with really bad wildfires in January of 2025. And they get paid 10 cents. 10 cents an hour, I think. 10 cents a day, maybe. I don't know. They get paid pennies. It's absurd. It's slave labor. And they're risking their lives. And that's just the people that. And that's an extreme case. Just even any labor where you're making that much. Anyways, I need to... Santos asks Garcia if they're still on for tonight, but she may need to rain check. And then Robbie asks Garcia about the patient with the leg infection. And she says last that she heard they were doing an above the leg amputation. It escalated really quickly. And she was worried about losing her job. I hate... Robbie checks in with Whitaker about Louis. Very sweet. I really appreciate this about Robbie. Langdon and Dana have a conversation. They talk about the guy who punched her. He was arrested. She didn't know if she wanted to press charges. She took some time off, but she got bored at home and she came back. She only lasted a few weeks. Langdon didn't hear anybody from when he was gone. He tries to make amends with Dana, and she's like, we're good. Al Hashimi wants to admit incarcerated patient Gus, because the treatment at the correctional facility is bad. Robbie's like, we don't have a lot of space, but he'll call the prison doctor to see what they're working with. The Taser college kid, we find out after his psych consultation, he's been experiencing auditory hallucinations. Meanwhile, the hospice patient, she clearly doesn't want to go home. Her husband wants her to go home. She doesn't want to go home. She doesn't want to go home. She'll need a lot of assistance. And her husband says, no problem, I will leave her side. And she's like, but you need a break. Like, clear, they want different things. They're butting, anyways. Princess tries to interpret for Harlow, the deaf patient, but her signing isn't great. Like, she's okay at communicating, but when Harlow tries to explain what's going on, like, she misses half of it. I will say I did catch, because I know a little bit of sign language. I catch that she said three weeks ago, something like that. 3 weeks ago. I'm doing it horribly, but like, I understood that she said 3 or maybe 6. No, this is 3 weeks ago. She said something about 3 weeks ago. Okay, I know that for sure. I feel like I'm the opposite of Perla. I mean, not that I could understand sign language super well. If somebody went slow, I don't feel like I could sign well, but I feel like I could like try to like I could. I know a lot of vocabulary. I'm bad with sentences. When I was unemployed, besides starting this podcast, when I was unemployed post grad, something I did was I took like online ASL classes, but it was just like self like you watch a video and then you do the quiz yourself. So like I feel like I understand, like I can grasp the vocabulary, but like I don't feel like I could sign very well. And this was years ago, 4 years ago, because it was around when I started my podcast, and I didn't keep up, and I obviously am not involved in any, maybe not obviously, but I'm not involved with any like local deaf community, so I don't like I can't sign, but I feel like I could, if I needed to, I could try to understand what a deaf person was explaining to me. I did get to 3 weeks ago. That's it. That's all I got. So I'm no better. I can't help. She needs an actual interpreter. Okay. Santos gives up. She's like, we'll just have to wait until the virtual interpreter comes, because I can't. She doesn't try. And the thing is, I understand that Santos is overwhelmed, but the way she treats this patient really does irritate me. I can't lie. It irritated me. Anyways, Emma and Dana clean Louie up, and Dana explains that they always leave one hand untucked out of the sheet so loved ones can hold their hands in the viewing room. Issues with Santos' chart come up because I think somebody comes down. One of her patients got sent up, and they come down and they're like, we can't do this treatment because we need a surgery consult because the chart said that they had this previous thing. And Santos was like, oh no, she didn't. I just didn't proofread. Whatever. I love that Robbie gets mad at all. He does also, like, she's like, it won't happen again. Anyways, Donnie shows the students how to close a wound. And then Joy asks about his tattoos, and he has DC for Death and Chaos. He got it after the Pitt shooting, the Pitt Fest shooting. And then he got Miracles and Blessings, MB, after his daughter was born. Very beautiful, very beautiful. And then Al Hashimi and Robbie butt heads about the incarcerated patient because she thinks that they can offer more, and he's like, we don't have the resources. She's like, what's the difference between him and like the unhoused patient? And Robbie's like, he has care. It's not great care, but it's some kind of consistent care, where the unhoused patient, Digby, that was his name, he doesn't. It's all very sad. I hate the system. And Al Hashimi says that just because you know it's broken doesn't mean you don't try to fix it about the system. And you know what? I like that. Like Al Hashimi, besides the AI thing, there are more, and the fact that I don't feel like maybe necessarily the way that she functions works with the Pit. Could she adjust? Yes, of course. But like there are things about Al Hashimi I like. Jada wants to take her brother home, but he's on an involuntary psych hold. And this is the moment I was talking about earlier, where Dana bonds with the incarcerated patient about like. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cry. I can't do this. Donnie asks Joy and Ogilvy how they're liking the Pit, and he says he feels like he was born to this. Well, you weren't. Joy says hard pass. She wants to go into pathology. Then the incarcerated patient's pulse oxygen drops. He needs to stay longer. And Dana was in the room when that happens, and Robbie's like, well, what was that about? Did Al-Hashimi say, like, put you up to that? And she's like, no. Al-Hashimi doesn't make me do anything. Roxy really wants to stay. She wants to stay. Her husband, meanwhile, is with the kids. They were like waiting for the ambulance or something. Emma and Langdon have a conversation, and she says time will tell if she's cut out for this. And then the episode ends with the debrief about Louis, and it was really, really emotional. Robbie tells a story about Louis's wife, Rhonda. He never really wanted kids, but she finally wore him down. And when she got pregnant, he changed his tune. He was super excited. And at about a month before the baby was due, Rhonda and the baby were killed in a car crash. And Louis was never the same after that. And Emma grabs his hand in this moment. And it was like so beautiful because it's like we got the information that they leave a handout so the loved one can hold on. And Emma's like, it was like a very beautiful moment where it's like, this is his family. I'm sorry, what? It's just sad. And Robbie says, may his memory be a blessing. And that's how the episode ends. Like, sorry, I know he's a fictional character, but it was really, really beautiful. And I'm already emotional because I hate episode 7. There is a sexual assault. We pick up with the ending of Louis' debrief. Then we get information there's a sexual assault victim in triage. Robbie asks about Roxy, the hospice patient. McKay's like, she doesn't want to leave now. Al-Hashimi compliments Robbie on the debrief. And then Robbie asks if Al-Hashimi can help Dana with the sexual assault victim. And McKay and Robbie's going to see if he and McKay can convince Roxy to leave because they need the space. And like, does she really want to be here in a noisy ER? You know, Dana needs somebody to take over her duties as charge nurse because she's the only sane on staff sexual assault nurse examiner. And Princess is like, can't we get a sane? And she's like, on a holiday, please. I'm the only one. We don't want to leave, like, have this patient waiting. So Princess takes over as charge nurse. The virtual interpretation system is not working. Harlow really can't catch a break. And again, I'm really not trying to judge Santos, but she like has no patience or trying to actually like communicate with her. And it irritated me. And like, you can't like, I understand it's not like ideal, but you can't like have her like, hey, I'm sorry, could you maybe write down out your symptoms, like some kind of summary? Right now we can't communicate, just to move the ball a little bit. Like, I understand it's not ideal, but it's like, it's something. She does write down, like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And she's like, why? Why am I doing radiation? Like, whatever. Like, I feel like she could have at least been like, could you write down a little mini summary if you're able? I don't know. Jackson, the college kid's parents come, and Al-Hashimi calls her neurologist. Like, there's clearly a moment. Like, this is the moment where I was like, okay, so the Baby Jane Doe thing, it wasn't about Baby Jane Doe. It was like some kind of dissociative moment, like some kind, I don't know. Because it seems like the conversation about Jackson's hallucinations and his, like, I feel like there's something there with Al-Hashimi. We don't know yet because episode 7 is the latest episode. So I don't know yet. Maybe we'll get an explanation, maybe we won't, but she does call her neurologist. Roxy does not want to leave. A big chunk of the episode is also the sexual assault examination that happens. I don't have many detailed notes on it. It was very thorough, and I feel like Dana did a really good job. And it was very emotional. But I just don't have like notes about like this happened and this happened and this happened. But anyways, Abbott comes with a gunshot wound patient from like SWAT. He's like a SWAT medic, and they were shot at like a warehouse. I don't know the details. At the ambulance bay, Mel is FaceTiming her sister, and her sister has a stomach ache. This may come back later, which is the only reason I'm noting it. It might not. Maybe we just wanted to see a little moment of Mel and her sister. But then Mohan comes out, and she's on the phone with her mom, and then together Mohan and Mel see a patient who collapsed in the heat during football practice. Mr. Diaz then begins to leave, and Mohan says like stops him and sends Langdon to help with the heat exhaustion football player. She's like, you really can't leave. Your blood still has acid in it. Like, and he's like, I'm already in $100K medical debt that my family doesn't even know about. And she pushes him to stay for at least 12 hours. She'll get what he needs at home and a medical referral. Like it's all very sad. It's all very sad. It's like people shouldn't have to choose between going into debt and living. Al-Hashimi meets Abbott during the treatment of the gunshot wound patient. They set up a cooling room for Elliot, the football player, and more people, because they will probably get more people with heat exhaustion. It's Langdon's idea. Good for Langdon. Abbott and Al-Hashimi talk about their experiences in the Middle East. He says they should get a beer sometimes. And he's like, she's cool to Robbie after. And Robbie's like, I'm not going to be around long enough to know. So maybe not. Javardi's dad brings down a colleague from dermatology to meet Javardi. Her parents are really trying to get her into the exact specialty they want. Like, girl, let her choose her specialty. Dr. Jefferson meets the psychiatrist meets with Jackson's parents, and they reveal that they do have a family history of mental illness. Jada, Jackson's sister, is upset because she didn't know this. Apparently, her dad's brother, her uncle, killed himself, and he had issues his whole life, but he was never diagnosed. She's upset. She leaves the room. Mel mentions to Robbie that they sent the football player to a cooling room, and he's like, that's a good idea. And she's like, it was Langdon's. Robbie's like I give a fuck. No, I'm kidding. But like, that's the vibe. He asks Mel how she's feeling, and she's worried. She and her sister depend on this job, and he says she's great at her job. He's been training residents for years, and she's one of the very best. Roxy's husband, played by the guy who played Oliver in the OC, he really wants to take her home, but they're pushing him to honor her wishes. She clearly doesn't want to die at home. She's like, I don't want you living with my ghost. And he's like, I'll happily live with her ghost. Their son, who's in the room, is like, I don't want to speak about ghosts. It's also sad. I'm sorry, it's also sad. Then there's a boating accident who's coming in on the roof, and Robbie goes, and then Langdon joins him in the elevator. I don't think he knew that Langdon was joining. No, he definitely didn't know that Langdon was joining him in the elevator. Once they're on the roof, Langdon apologizes. He's trying to make amends. Robbie's like, I don't give a fuck. He doesn't say that, but that's his general arc too. Also, horrible timing. I get it. This is the only moment of he's forced to be here with you because you're both waiting and he can't leave. So I understand that, but it was funny. Horrible timing, propellers everywhere. I also want to know how they shot this. Was the helicopter sound actually rolling, or did you have to pretend to yell? Why do I care about the behind the scenes of this specifically? I just feel like it'd be hard to pretend to yell over loud noise. Anyways, Robbie says that he's glad that Langdon got the help he needed, but he doesn't know if he wants him working in his ER. Langdon's confidence is clearly shaken by this, because as they're treating the boating accident patient, Robbie will be like, and what do we do now? And Langdon's like, and then Mel steps in and gives him his for the rest of the time they're treating this boating patient, Langdon's confidence is shaken, and he's very clearly not it's anyways. While the sexual assault examination is happening, an advocate comes. Just wanted to note that again. I don't have many details about this. I honestly I don't feel like I would have anything eloquent to say about it. I really appreciate Dana in this moment. Santos is still struggling with Harlow due to the technology. A few more overheated patients come in. One has a seizure, but they get him stabilized. Javardi manages to find Jada, and they have a conversation. And she's like, I want you to be part of a mental health conversation with your brother. It's important that you're part of it too. Mohan goes to see Mr. Diaz, and she's super excited because she got him a bunch of supplies that he would need. But instead, she finds Abbott there, who's shirtless and treating a little wound that he had. A bullet grazed him, but he's fine. And this was I didn't know that people shipped them, because I'm not into I didn't know any ships. Okay, I don't know any ships. I did know that people shipped Mel and Langdon, because I went into the show knowing Taylor Dearden, not personally, but being a fan of hers. So I was very before I even watched the show, I knew Mel and Langdon were a ship. And I didn't really like Langdon, and I really liked Mel, so I was like, anyways, I've already talked about that. But I didn't know that people shipped Mohan and Abbott. And after this episode, I saw people being like, guys, we're so up. And I'm like, I'm on board. I'm on your ship now. I see it. This scene was buzzy. More than Mel and Langdon ever gave me. This was buzzy. Like, I saw it. She's like clearly in her own head, and then the way he says, I'll pay for it, when he's like, you can Uber the supplies to his house. And she's like, will the hospital pay for it? And he goes, I'll pay for it. That was the sexiest thing a man has ever said. Ugh, I get it. I'm on board with your ship. And she helps him because he can't really reach the place where he needs to put some stuff on. It was, I'm up. Okay. I'm on your plan. I don't give a fuck about ships normally on the show, but I'm up. I'm with you. Anyway, Santos and Al-Hashimi tension seems to be easing. She like compliments her. She's like, at some point she goes up to her and she's like, I'm working on my charting. And she's like, that's not, I was coming to say good job earlier. Santos is struggling to chart because baby Jane Doe won't stop crying. So then she goes and she sings to her. And it's a very beautiful moment. And I love the fact that I love when an actress or an actor can sing and they include that in the show somehow. Loved that. I loved it. They stabilized the guy from the boating accident and he goes up to surgery. And Langdon tries to talk to Robbie again, but it doesn't go anywhere. Robbie's not having a conversation with you. Gus got a room upstairs. They're trying to find one for Digby, the unhoused patient. And then Al-Hashimi gets called upstairs to C-suite, which is like, I guess, where all the suits are. I don't know. The bureaucracy of the hospital. Robbie asks about Harlow and Santos explains that they're waiting on the new interpreter. She figured she'd just give her a head and belly scan and go from there. And Robbie's like, no, wait for the interpreter. Why are we giving the patient unnecessary radiation? Thank you. Really appreciate that, Robbie. Then asks about her charting. She says she's working on it, and then asks if Langdon has talked to Santos. She's like, no. And I think this is a big moment for Robbie. And I do think if there is a moment where change happens between Langdon and Robbie, I do think Langdon making amends with Santos will be part of that, because part of what Langdon did wrong last season was not just the fact that that was the biggest thing, but he was also very, very rude to Santos. And I think also probably it didn't help when, anyways. And then they have a conversation about Whitaker and his cozying up to the widow and the baby, which was kind of funny. And this is how I found out that people ship Robbie and Whitaker. Because people on TikTok were like, guys, we're so up. And I'm like, I didn't know that was a ship either. Roxy's husband really wants them to order her to go home, but Robbie's like, honoring her wishes is the best thing you can do in this moment. The new interpreter finally arrives, and Harlow, before she's like, okay, for a second, we need to have a conversation. And she starts explaining how difficult it's been. And because they're having a conversation, Santos is like, I'll let you get acquainted, and she leaves. I'm like, girl, Harlow's been waiting forever. She was waiting for 5 hours because she didn't hear them calling her name. I need to calm down. The sexual assault patient who's been mostly calm, when they begin to do like vaginal swabs, she panics, and it's like very, very emotional and like sad. She's like, she doesn't know if she wants to do this. He was her friend. He knows all her friends. It's all very tense. And it's all very sad. Dana tells her to take a breather and come back, and they'll decide from there. Then Javardi and Santos are in the bathroom. We see, like, they're not in the bathroom together. They're in separate stalls. But we do see Santos has self-harm scars, which may come up later, may not. But I did want to note that. The CEO comes down with Al-Hashimi and explains that the reason that Westbridge shut down is because of a cyber attack. And as a preemptive measure, they're going analog. And they're like, when? And he's like, right now, basically. He doesn't say that. He's like, soon. And then, like, literally, they go to take a photo of the board, and it shuts down, like, literally within less than a minute. And a lot of people are mad at Al-Hashimi here. And it's like, I do think maybe she could have given Robbie a heads up. But I also think it's not really her fault that, like, she went, like, Robbie's like, is there anything you want to tell me? To the CEO, and he's like, no, and he announces it to group. Like, that's shitty on the CEO's part to not even tell Robbie. And I understand that time is of the essence, but it's like, you had time to consult Al-Hashimi. You could have told Robbie, whatever. And that's where we wrap with the pit. Honestly, good timing for me to like recap the part before they go analog and things pick up. So I'm excited for the next few episodes. I'll be recapping like episode by episode, and I'll go a little bit more in detail. I know I kind of brushed through stuff. I've just been recording for like 3 hours. This podcast is going to be super long. So anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Like and subscribe. Follow me wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate and review. Share with a friend. Comment down below. Hope you have a great week. You'll hear from me next week. Tuesday or Wednesday. So hope probably honestly a little bit sooner than, because this episode is going to be extra long. Next episode is going to be normal. So shouldn't take me as long to edit. So hope you have a great week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really can't express what this podcast means to me. I can't believe it's been 4 years. So thank you if you've been along for any part of that.